the Sorcerer of the Celestial Dragon line. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Iron Fortress. Blood Wasteland. The Arcane Council has fallen into a stalemate, and the number of demons will increase as time goes by. If the Abyss Gate cannot be destroyed as soon as possible and the volcanoes cannot be sealed, then it will be meaningless to continue to hold on. With so many demons invading, the only way to defeat them is to activate the floating tower and directly destroy the Abyss Gate. At this time, the floating tower still needs a little time to recharge. In the Iron Fortress, the battle is getting more and more intense. Under the leadership of several legendary spellcasters, they have cast several super large spells, but the effect is not good because of the Demon Lord. An elven archer on the wall pulled his bow and arrow, and then with an order, a rain of arrows fell into the demon army attacking the city. A large number of demons were shot and fell to the ground, and then were trampled directly by the demons behind. The battle lasted for a day and went through several rotations, but the high-intensity battle still made them exhausted. The other side of the canyon. Master, the Abyssal Digger has dug deep into the Iron Fortress. A succubus wearing a 3-point leather jacket walked to a Beta Fire Demon Lord and said, "Finally succeeded. Haha, as long as we destroy the Iron Fortress, no one in this world can stop us." The Beta Fire Demon Lord reached out and grabbed the succubus and squeezed her towering breasts hard. The succubus smiled charmingly and rubbed her body a few times, and her eyes were even more seductive. "I'll deal with you later. Let's destroy the Iron Fortress first." The Beta Fire Demon Lord suppressed the restlessness in his heart and shouted directly, "Then let's start. Destroy the Iron Fortress for me completely." With an order, a powerful energy wave burst out, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound, and the whole earth shook violently. Earthquake? How could there be an earthquake here? Get out of the way. Earthquake. The city wall is going to collapse. Countless people in the Iron Fortress shouted loudly. Violent vibrations continued to be heard, and as the ground beneath their feet shook, the houses in the fortress began to collapse, and the tall walls began to twist and break under the huge force. Several meters wide, bottomless cracks appeared, and some soldiers fell into the dark cracks. Huge rocks kept sliding down from the cliffs on both sides, and with violent vibrations, a section of the wall in front of the steel fortress completely collapsed, and a large number of defenders and demons fell. A huge gap appeared on the wall of the fortress. Boom. Mounds of earth rose on the ground, and then terrifying mouthpits appeared, and hideous abyssal burrowing worms drilled out of the ground. A large number of soldiers who could not dodge were bitten by the burrowing worms, and the terrifying mouthpits closed, and the sharp teeth directly bit them into a ball of meat paste, and then swallowed them. A gap appeared in the wall, and countless demon armies swarmed in. A team of barbarians wearing heavy armor hurried over. Form a formation. With the dull sound of thunder, the barbarians formed a shield formation and rushed forward, going upstream, facing the continuous advance of countless demons, leaving countless demon bodies along the way. The height of this group of barbarians is generally about 2 meters, and the heavy armor on their bodies is as light as a layer of leather armor. With strong bodies, they wielded heavy swords to kill demons one by one. These barbarian warriors raised large shields and battle axes, and launched a brave charge. The demons destroyed their homes. From now on, the descendants of Tryndamere can only wander around. Barbarians, only blood and killing, can take back what we have lost. Charge. The dull sound of the horn sounded. With the roar of the barbarians, the demon army was beaten back by these barbarians. Frenzy. With a roar, the already tall barbarian berserker became even more sturdy, and the door-like big sword was wielded with great force, and the demons who dared to rush up were directly dismembered. If we rank the most efficient professions on the battlefield, then the barbarian berserker can definitely be ranked in the top few. The berserker is a human meat grinder, especially those high-level barbarian berserkers who are proficient in whirlwind slash. Allen likes to call them windmills. He once relied on his powerful red dragon bloodline and exaggerated physical fitness to rush directly into the middle of the enemy and swing the whirlwind slash. That kind of high level acceleration and weak point attack, when facing a physical fitness close to or weaker than oneself, the lethality is amazing. However, this profession also has obvious shortcomings. That is, the berserker time is limited, and there is a period of weakness after the end of the berserker, and the berserker will affect the sanity. As time goes by, the speed of the berserker finally slows down. After all, the flesh is not a steel body. The black and dense demon army keeps attacking, and the barbarian berserker can't stand it. Archers, get ready. A cold voice sounded. Not far behind the berserker, a team of elf sharpshooters rushed over quickly. A tall female elf pulled a longbow in her hand, and with a light bang, all the elves behind her shot arrows together. Green arrows flew out, knocking down a large number of demons at the gap in the city wall. The leading barbarian berserker looked back, and continued to shout loudly, holding the gap tightly. Where is the Arcanist? Come and block the gap here. Otherwise, the Iron Fortress will definitely not be able to hold on today. With the elves joining in, the barbarians finally breathed a sigh of relief, but with more and more demons constantly attacking, it was only a matter of time before this place was breached. Boom. One after another, scorching fireballs hit the barbarian's giant shield, and several barbarians were directly blown away. The Balrog and the demon army finally arrived. Reinforcement. We need reinforcement. Seeing the defense line crumbling, everyone shouted loudly, and the elves' bows and arrows almost formed a line. A team of dull footsteps came, and then a hand axe flew directly from the side and hit the demon army hard. A group of heavily armored dwarfs arrived in time. The Dwarven Ironclad Army, as the last organized Dwarven army, was the guard of the Dwarven King. The golden helmeted dwarf running in the front was the king of this generation of the Dwarven Kingdom. The previous generation of Dwarven kings had died in the Blood Wasteland. This young king was the last bloodline of the Bronzebeard Dwarven Kingdom. The Bronzebeard Dwarven King wore a heavy full body armor and stood at the forefront of the Dwarven line with a battle axe in his hand. Dwarven Ironclad Army. Form a formation. The Dwarven Ironclad Army holding huge shields stabilized the precarious front again. Heavy shields were connected to form a steel wall at the gap in the wall. Quick! There's a gap here. Prepare the earth wall. Several spellcasters stumbled over, and without taking a breath, they took out their staffs and began to cast spells. As the spell ended, an earth wall quickly rose from the gap. Turn mud into stone. Seeing the earth wall rising, another spellcaster cast a spell directly, turning the earth wall into a stone wall. Barbarians and dwarves climbed up the stone wall and continued to block the demons. Countless demons were blocked here and could not move forward. With a roar, low-level demons dodged one after another. Then a heavy footsteps came, and charging beasts appeared in the field of vision. They were huge in size, looking like mammoths, but larger than mammoths, with scales all over their bodies, sharp teeth and huge horns on their heads, all of which showed their amazing destructive power. Chapter 352, City Fall. Boom. With a huge tremor and the roar of broken stones, several dwarf armored soldiers were thrown high up and then fell heavily to the ground. Their steel armor had been twisted and deformed, and sticky blood kept coming out of their mouths. Several giant beasts staggered and fell to the ground after breaking through the gap. One by one, the dwarf armored soldiers, human heavy infantry, and barbarian berserkers were overwhelmed by the demon army. There were loopholes in the defense line, and demons kept pouring in. The defense line has become precarious. Once it collapses completely, the steel fortress will fall completely. At this moment, a group of tall figures appeared on the battlefield. While running, their bodies turned directly into a giant bear, a hawk, and a giant wolf, and then rushed directly into the gap. The addition of dozens of druids once again stabilized the front line. Countless demons were beaten into meat paste by the huge bear paws, and bitten into two sections by the giant wolf. Look, it's Sir William Oak. The feral druid is here too. All the defenders were immediately cheered up, and then they saw a barefoot, strong old man holding a tree staff. Then 3 war trees tens of meters high slowly moved over. Nature's wrath. The earth continued to shake, and countless thorny vines flew out, piercing countless demons in an instant, and then the vines entangled with each other, and began to block the gap. A large number of demons began to swarm into the passage dug by the Abysstigers. The human heavy infantry who reacted blocked the exit tightly, and people and demons died every second. Many bottomless cracks appeared on the ground, and abyss diggers kept breaking out of the ground. Seeing that the fortress was already devastated and full of holes, the Arcanists were like fire captains, constantly going to various places to provide support. The protective barrier of the entire fortress also became flickering. If the barrier was broken, and there was no barrier to suppress it, high-level demons could be directly teleported into the fortress. At that time, the fortress would fall completely. Elemental Legion. Elemental Channel Earth Elemental Plane Summon Elemental Elders joined casting. The two legendary spellcasters jointly opened the door of the Elemental Channel. The earth trembled, and a crack appeared. The powerful magic tore the plane barrier, and opened up a passage to the Earth Elemental Plane. Then heavy footsteps sounded, and a group of tall Earth Elemental Elders and giant Earth Element rushed out. The earth roared. The Earth Element Elders mashed down with both hands, and a shock wave quickly spread. The tunnels under the ground were trampled one after another, and countless demons were buried directly underneath. Then the earth shook violently, as if an earth dragon turned over, and the abyss diggers were squeezed by the hard rocks. The abyss diggers struggled to get rid of the earth that was controlled by the earth element, which was not something they could resist at all. Soon all the abyssal diggers were killed, and the cracks disappeared as the earth elementals repaired them. More than 10 Earth Elemental Elders and dozens of giant Earth Elementals rampaged through the fortress and began to clear the demons that had rushed into the fortress. The Iron Fortress finally stabilized its formation again after paying a huge loss of life and death. A team of Arcanists began to quickly repair the protective barrier. The destruction of the Abyssal Diggers caused serious damage to the protective barrier, and the output power of the elemental pool continued to decrease. The entire barrier was on the verge of collapse. Blood wasteland. With dense footsteps, several Arcanists in white robes came over. SYNOPSIS. The teleportation array is ready, and the elemental pool of the wizard tower is fully charged. Boom. With a loud roar, several iron golems and tall hellfires perished together. The position of the Arcane Council had shrunk by 2 times compared to the original. There were damaged golem structures everywhere, and the number of skeleton golems was only 30%. The Mage Corps had completely lost its combat capability. Then let's get started. Obsis's piercing eyes stared at the battlefield. After saying that, he turned and came to the center of the magic circle. With the low and obscure chanting of spells, a powerful energy gathered here from all directions. The rune array engraved on the ground gradually emitted light, and as the magic circle was activated, the surrounding space began to vibrate continuously. A ray of spiritual light shot up into the sky. At the same time, in the arcane city thousands of miles away, the 12 wizard towers also burst into dazzling light. Heart-pounding energy fluctuations slowly appeared, activating the teleportation gate. Lock the space coordinates. Element pool activated. Bottom structure separated. Energy channel opened. Floating ring charging. Floating tower. Start. The floating tower separated from the base with a violent roar and slowly rose. The airwaves stirred back and forth in the entire arcane city, and the 12 floating towers flew high into the sky. Calculating the space transmission error. Correcting the space error. The space channel is opening. A powerful energy fluctuation appeared. All the clouds in the sky were dispersed, and wrinkles began to appear in the sky. Then the wrinkles became more and more obvious, and a space channel slowly opened. The violent energy fluctuations brought gusts of wind, blowing away everything around. Charging completed. The portal is open. Bloody wasteland. The violent energy fluctuations attracted the attention of the demons. Teams of high-level demons led by several legendary demons rushed over directly. Many Death Knights were entangled. The seducing demon led a team of high-level demons to break through the blockade and wanted to destroy the teleportation array. The huge dragon wings behind Allen opened instantly, and his figure moved, and the next moment he appeared in the sky. He went up to the legendary seducing demon. The wind was howling, huge wind pressure came, and a sharp sonic boom sounded. Allen directly completed the half-dragon transformation. At this time, his body had completely changed. The golden red scales flashed with dazzling light, and sharp bone spurs were exposed on the huge body. The body was more like a balloon that was inflated, and directly swelled to a size of 5 meters. An invisible shield appeared on the surface of the body. With a huge dragon roar, Allen slammed into the legendary seducer that rushed up. Bang! a sound of bones breaking came, and the seducer was directly knocked out. The huge demon horn was directly broken. Allen's speed did not slow down, and the huge dragon wings suddenly flapped. The powerful dragon wings directly fanned out more than a dozen high-level demons. Raw. Dragon breath spray. The scorching cone-shaped dragon breath sprayed from Allen in the air, and the temperature instantly melted the rocks. At this time, the range and power of Allen's dragon breath had surpassed the red dragon in its prime, and reached the level of an old dragon. As Allen flew past at high speed, a flame channel was plowed out from the demon army. All the demons drowned by the dragon breath screamed and wanted to escape, but they soon turned into a piece of charcoal. A flame channel about hundreds of meters long and more than 15 meters wide appeared on the ground, and the entire demon army was divided into two. Chapter 353 Fire. The attacking demon army fell into a sea of fire. Allen flew back and forth once, and the scorching dragon breath turned the entire battlefield into a sea of fire. At the same time, the portal finally opened. A beam of light shot up into the sky, and a huge floating tower slowly passed through the light gate. The powerful energy fluctuation set off a strong wind around it. As the first wizard tower was successfully teleported, the other wizard towers were teleported one after another. Soon, 12 floating towers appeared on the battlefield. As the highest achievement of the Arcane Council, these floating towers condensed the highest craftsmanship of the entire plane. Looking at the floating towers in the sky, the demon army became extremely restless. After the winged demons and demon eyes in the air saw the floating towers appear, they rushed directly up. The huge number made them look like a dark cloud. Legendary energy field activated. As the cold mechanical sound of the tower spirit sounded, the 12 floating towers burst into dazzling light. The element pool was overloaded, and a beam of light was stimulated from the top of the floating tower, and then shot to another floating tower. After the floating tower touched the beam of light, it once again shot the beam of light to another floating tower. The 12 floating towers formed a huge inner and outer hexagram array, and the powerful energy field enveloped the entire battlefield. High-level protection barrier activated. Lock on the target. Elemental pool energy output. Charge the magic crystal superconducting pulse cannon. As the floating towers appeared on the battlefield, the Arcane Council began to counterattack. The winged demon and the demon eye had already rushed to the floating tower, ready to attack the floating tower. However, under the cover of the energy barrier, their speed dropped sharply. As soon as they entered this area, their wings lost their function, and they fell directly from the air. The powerful energy field formed an electrostatic force field near the floating tower, and all demons could not cross it. Charging the magic crystal superconducting pulse cannon, the current progress is 25%, 30%, 35% tactical strike activated. Fire the magic crystal superconducting pulse cannon. Boom. 12 dazzling energy beams cut through the sky and shot at the 12 targets of the demon army in the distance. The dazzling light illuminated the whole world, and the sky covered by dark clouds suddenly regained its light. With a loud bang, a powerful energy shock wave burst out in an instant. Huge fireballs rose from afar, and countless demons were burned to ashes by the flames. The shock wave swept across the battlefield with the might of destroying the world. The dense demon army was instantly overwhelmed, and a large number of demons were swept into the air by the shockwave. Allen returned to the ground at the moment the floating tower was launched, and directly raised a wall of earth, and then used mud to turn the wall into rock, and then added hardening magic. Sure enough, just after he did all this, a huge shockwave swept over directly, and countless demon armies had no power to resist, and were directly swept away. Everything on the ground was blown up, and the destroyed steel golems and skeleton golems were completely destroyed by the shockwave. The puppet golems, that were several meters high, and weighed more than 4 tons were directly destroyed like model toys. The whole world seemed to have entered the end of the world at this moment. The shockwave stopped moving after hitting the energy field of the floating tower, and then slowly dissipated. As the smoke and dust dissipated, the entire battlefield became silent. The demons that had just flooded like a tide had now disappeared. 12 huge pits appeared on the bloody wasteland. A large amount of rock in the pits melted and turned into boiling magma. Allen came out of his hiding place, and the wall that had been blessed with hardening magic shattered into several pieces with a slight touch. The gate of the abyss. Countless demon armies were pouring in. A shocking energy wave came from a distance, and then a shock wave that was thousands of meters high swept across directly, and countless demon armies were directly swept up by the shock wave. The low-level and middle-level demons were directly torn to pieces. The high-level demons became scarred after holding on for a few times. They wanted to directly activate the teleportation ability to escape, but the powerful energy interference made their teleportation ineffective. A large number of demons died, and the shockwave finally weakened after sweeping most of the area. Several demon lords had dodged early. If they were hit directly by such a powerful attack, they would not be able to escape the fate of death. Charge the element pool. Prepare for the next tactical strike. Target the gate of the abyss. As the battlefield was cleared, Obyssus gave a direct order. The energy fluctuations of the floating tower that had just launched the attack were much weaker. This intensity of attack can only be launched twice. As the trump card of the arcane council of the Tebas world, its power is terrifying. Several demon lords dodged the attack in a panic, and then felt a powerful energy appear again. Their faces changed drastically in an instant. They turned around and fled the battlefield without caring about the gate of the abyss. The element pool is starting to charge. The energy channel is open. The space coordinates have been locked. The ballistic error is being corrected. The magic crystal superconducting railgun is starting to charge. 25%, 30%, 35%. As the energy was continuously charged, the floating tower began to gradually light up, and the powerful energy continued to gather. Finally, all the energy gathered at the top of the wizard tower. The powerful energy attracted the element particles in the air. A large number of element particles became extremely active. The element particles rubbed against each other, forming a series of elemental lights around the floating tower. 90%, 95%, 100% charging completed. Target, Abyss Gate. Fire. A dazzling light rose, as if a sun suddenly appeared. 12 heart-pounding energy fluctuations instantly crossed the sky, spanning hundreds of kilometers, and then slammed into the Abyss Gate. It was as if a huge sun rose from the east, and the dazzling light illuminated the world. A layer of purple spiritual light on the huge Abyss Gate continued to resist the sun. The two forces continued to wear away, and the purple light shield continued to consume. After flashing several times, it finally disappeared, and then the tall Abyss Gate was instantly submerged by the light ball. The powerful energy destroyed everything here. The surrounding space became extremely chaotic at this moment, and the abyss energy was torn to pieces at this moment. The surrounding demons were all killed as soon as they came to the material plane. Feeling the amazing fluctuations coming from afar, everyone present slowly breathed a sigh of relief. The abyss gate was destroyed, and a large number of demon armies were eliminated. Next, the volcano group needed to be sealed. Sir Abyssis, the Iron Fortress is calling for help. The demon army destroyed the walls of the Iron Fortress, and now there is a melee there. An arcane master hurried over and said to Abyssis, the energy of the floating tower has been exhausted and can no longer carry out tactical strikes. The mage group has not recovered yet, and only a handful of people are able to rush to support at this time. Thanks to Silent Zangai for the reward. Chapter 354 Support. I'll go, Allen said. Abyssis turned around and saw Allen, and his solemn expression relaxed. Then I'll leave it to you, Mr. Allen. Bangda, we need to seal the volcanoes as soon as possible, and we need to confirm as soon as possible whether the escaped demon lords have left Abyss. We can't let these abyss bugs come back, Abyssis said directly. Allen nodded at them and spread his dragon wings and flew up. A ray of spiritual light rose, and Allen's figure disappeared directly. Steel Fortress. Under the constant attack of the overwhelming demon army, the collapsed wall has become larger and larger. Although there are constantly defenders going to defend, the entire defense line has been riddled with holes. Demons continue to break through the blockade and enter the fortress. In the collapsed ruins, several human warriors are sitting on the ground. Two of them have been buried alive by boulders, and several bodies are torn apart. There are also many demon bodies scattered around, and hunters jump out of the broken walls. These hunters soon found their target. A hunter demon with a good appearance rushed forward without mercy, with dagger-like sharp teeth in its open mouth, a strong smell of sulfur mixed with blood, and scalded eyes full of madness and killing. The next moment, several human soldiers who had lost their combat effectiveness were about to be beheaded. Boom. Suddenly, a huge axe flew over and cut the hunted demon in two, and then teams of human soldiers rushed up. Carry the wounded to the back, and the others follow me to support. The leading man was sturdy and agile, and his heavy armor seemed to be nothing. He commanded the soldiers to move forward quickly. In the distance, under the attack of several high-level demons, several soldiers were directly knocked out. The twisted iron armor and the internal organs and blood that kept spitting out indicated that his life was passing away. Several berserker demons wielded heavy weapons and swept directly, and soldiers were constantly swept out. Soon the gap widened, and more demons rushed in. Damn bugs. With a roar, the leading human rushed forward. His body grew larger as he ran, wielding a wheel-sized axe and smashing hard at a berserker. With a loud bang, the rampaging berserkers retreated one after another, and the weapons in their hands were knocked away. It was obvious that this human was also a berserker. He wielded the huge battle axe and swept it across. In an instant, more than a dozen low-level demons that rushed up were cut into two pieces of flesh and blood and flew out. Then he jumped up without stopping, raised the huge battle axe high, and then chopped it down with force, splitting the berserker into two pieces. The blood of the demon dyed his armor red. At this moment, the sky lit up, and a shocking loud noise came from afar. The huge sound wave swept across the entire fortress like a tidal wave. Everyone was shocked, and then another spiritual light illuminated the sky. The direction was exactly behind the demon army. We succeeded. The gate of the abyss has been destroyed. The demons have no reinforcement. Kill. Destroy these bugs. Drive them back home. Roars broke out in the crowd. The defenders, who were already somewhat demoralized, burst out with amazing perseverance and stabilized the shaky defense line with high morale. A flash of light flashed, and Allen's figure appeared near the steel fortress. The powerful interference force caused a significant deviation in his teleportation spell. At this time, he was outside the canyon, and there were teams of demons below. There were countless winged demons in the air. When these demons saw Allen appear, they pounced on him directly. Get out of the way. These damn bugs. Allen swept his wings and swept away the demons that rushed up, but just as he knocked away a few more demons rushed up. All directions around were crowded with demons. Damn it, what a trouble. Dragon breath spout. The scorching dragon breath instantly spewed out of his mouth, and the demons rushing up from the surroundings were directly burned into charcoal. Allen shook his wings and dived directly. The scorching dragon breath turned the demon army below into a sea of fire, and Allen quickly passed through it. Then in Allen's sight, thousands of demons were frantically besieging the fortress. The front of the fortress had collapsed, and tens of thousands of soldiers were stuck there. The bodies of both sides had piled up high. Allen flapped his wings vigorously, and his figure accelerated again. He had already landed on a team of high-level demons. With the sound of whistling wind, Allen fell from the sky. Group monster immobilization technique. Disintegration technique *6 exclamation point. The bodies of several high-level demons suddenly shattered into several pieces, and a large amount of blood gushed out. The demons around were all controlled, and their bodies were stiff and unable to move. Ice storm, strong spell. Frost quickly appeared, covering the entire area. The controlled demons turned directly into ice sculptures, and then quickly shattered into countless ice cubes. The ice storm began to move rapidly towards the demon army. Allen continued to release spells, clearing the surrounding demons directly. Behind the demon army, the Bela Flame Demon Lord looked at the direction of the Abyss Gate with some palpitations. With such violent energy fluctuations, the Abyss Gate would definitely not still exist. As demon lords, they would not be as brainless as low-level demons. Demon lords with insufficient IQs would not survive long in the abyss. Without the Abyss Gate, it would not be easy for them to withdraw to the abyss. He could directly teleport across planes and leave. This place has been eroded by the abyss all the time, and the connection with the abyss is already very close. As long as some price is paid, it is not difficult to leave here, but it will be troublesome for the demon army to withdraw to the abyss. Recall the high-level demons. Let's go back to the abyss first. Bela Flame Demon gave an order directly after a little consideration. Low-level demons are like weeds in the abyss. They can be replenished quickly after a batch of them die, but higher level demons take a long time to replenish. Demons advance by killing and devouring each other, so the number of high level demons is far less than that of low level demons. A demon herald behind him immediately flew to convey the order. He was also tempted to capture the Iron Fortress and occupy the material plane. He was salivating over the rich soul resources in the material world, but he would not do it if he risked his life. The current situation is very clear. Humans have destroyed the Gate of the Abyss. Without subsequent reinforcement, the demon army will become fewer and fewer, and it will not be long before they are all wiped out. He does not want to be besieged by several human archmages. Allen did not know how his opponent was running, but he knew that the Gate of the Abyss was destroyed, and there was no demon army, and no subsequent troops, so he was not worried. However, it would be a big trouble to clean up so many demons, so he planned to take this opportunity to leave these demons here directly. Chapter 355, A Tragic Victory. As Allen cast spells, the surrounding demons were killed, and the pressure at the gap was greatly reduced. Chip. Scan the battlefield. Allen's figure was suspended in the air, and a staff appeared in his hand. Looking at the demon army that kept coming in front of him, his brows were slightly frowned. Fire cloud spell. 8th ring spell. Spell power. A burning cloud of fire instantly enveloped the battlefield in front of the fortress. In a blink of an eye, thousands of demons were ignited by the flames. This blazing cloud of fire continued to spread and cleared a large area nearby. As if sensing Allen's threat, countless eye demons in the air aimed at Allen. The next moment, a series of scorching rays were released directly, and the energy field in front of Allen was quickly shattered. Then the protective barrier broke after a few breaths, and the remaining rays hit the dragon scale leather armor without causing any damage. He took a deep breath, and a stream of hot flames instantly sprayed out. Dragon breath spray. The cone-shaped flame enveloped the eye demon in the sky. The temperature around rose sharply, and the terrible flames drained the surrounding air, and the flames devoured countless demons. The densely packed demons in front of him were instantly burned to ashes, and the breeze blew away directly. After solving the crisis here, Allen did not stop, flapped his wings, and rushed directly into the sky. Flame explosion. 8th ring spell. A scorching fireball flew directly, and then a dazzling light appeared on the battlefield, like a small sun. The dazzling light caused the demon army to fall into chaos, and a large number of demons fell from the sky. Allen appeared directly in the demon army. A purple spell scroll appeared in Allen's hand, and the next moment a flash of light flashed, and the scroll was torn apart directly. Banshee's howl. Accompanied by the sharp howl of the banshee resounding throughout the battlefield, the terrifying sound waves spread like airwaves, accompanied by extremely violent energy fluctuations. Hopelessness and sound waves spread, and all demons within a range of 500 meters centered on Allen fell in batches. As a 9-ring instant death spell, as long as you don't pass the death exemption, you will die in an instant. Eye demons and wind demons in the air fell like rain, and the sky was empty. Allen flapped his wings and flew directly into the sky. Chip. Scan the battlefield environment. Establish an optimized strike position. Calculate the power range of the nuclear bomb. As a beam of spiritual light spread, a large amount of data quickly gathered. After many evolutions, the chip had an extremely fast computing speed. A translucent battlefield map appeared in front of Allen. Several red positions were marked on the map, which were the best places to drop nuclear bombs. Allen did not delay and took out several nuclear bombs directly, then waved his staff to transport them to the designated location. As the spiritual light rose, the nuclear bomb entered the predetermined position, and Allen directly pressed the detonation button. It was as if the suns rose into the sky, and a huge mushroom cloud rose. The strong shock wave swept away all the demons around, and the flames burned everything. Countless demons turned into ashes in the explosion, and the demon army all over the mountains was killed and injured in the flames. The shock wave hit the canyons on both sides, and then bounced back. When the explosion subsided, the canyons on both sides were expanded by dozens of meters by the shockwave. A thick layer of rock on the ground was directly shaved off. The explosion center left a terrifying deep pit. The rock melted and turned into crystals. The last few nuclear bombs were detonated, and Allen no longer had such weapons in his hands, but the battle was coming to an end. The nuclear bomb explosion turned the entire canyon into a radiation disaster area, but this is an uninhabited area. Only demons pass through here when they attack. Humans no longer set foot here, after experiencing several bloody battles in the bloody wasteland. It is only necessary to control the radiation from spreading to the fortress. As for those demons, it is best if they can't stand the radiation and die. However, as abyss demons, the environment in the abyss is worse than the nuclear explosion area. This level of radiation cannot kill demons. Wait until the combat technology is ready, and let the druid purify the area near the fortress. The huge explosion destroyed the demon's fighting spirit, and the remaining demons were quickly defeated by the defenders. The entire fortress was full of broken walls and ruins. The front wall had completely collapsed, and the foundation of the entire fortress had problems. When the demons attacked, they mobilized a large number of abyss diggers. Although the arcane master summoned the earth element elder to eliminate the abyss diggers, the destroyed foundation would not be restored. The entire fortress was full of wounded soldiers, and the bodies of the coalition forces and demons were everywhere. The bodies of the coalition forces needed to be buried as soon as possible, and as for the bodies of the demons, they needed to be burned uniformly after the materials were collected. So many bodies piled up here, if not dealt with as soon as possible, it would easily cause a plague. Allen walked around the iron fortress and left directly. After more than a day of high-intensity combat, his energy and magic power were severely consumed. The red dragon blood provided him with a strong physique, but also made him feel tired. A burst of spiritual light rose, and the next moment Allen had returned to Banda's wizard tower. Banda had not returned yet, and they still needed to seal the volcanic group. Allen returned to the room to rest and recover. When he appeared again, Banda was already sitting in the living room, with Obyssus and others sitting next to him. Teacher, Lord Obyssus. Allen, you woke up. How was your rest? Banda nodded. Lord Allen, thank you for your help. Obyssus said a little tiredly. Well, not bad. Allen nodded. You're welcome. Are those volcanoes sealed? All of them are sealed, but we don't have much time left. Obyssus nodded. We won this battle, but we can only postpone the time of the Abyss's invasion. Banda said with a heavy tone. We still have a lot of things to do next. You have already experienced the madness and horror of the bottomless abyss. The purpose of their existence is to kill and destroy. We can't sit and wait for death. Although we won this battle, this loss is nothing to the abyss. The element furnace needs to be completed as soon as possible. Only by successfully raising the floating city can we have a chance to completely cut off the tentacles of the abyss's will. The reconstruction of the Iron Fortress is in full swing. Although the abyss demons have been repelled temporarily, the Iron Fortress has almost become a ruin. As a fortress that has resisted the abyss army several times, the location here is extremely important. There is almost no defense behind the fortress. Once it falls, it is only a matter of time for the entire continent to fall. In this war, the defenders suffered heavy casualties. More than half of the soldiers were killed, and many legions were crippled. For a long time, this place could not recover to its pre-station strength. In this battle, only a few legendary demons were killed, and only a few unlucky ones were injured by the magic crystal superconducting railgun. They failed to escape in the first time, and were beaten to death by the great arcanists. Allen was given some legendary demon materials, demon skin and blood, which can be used to make high-level spell scrolls. Chapter 356, Door to the Plains. Because Allen released the nuclear bomb, the canyon east of the Iron Fortress was full of radiation, and the Archdruid in the Arcane Council did not have a good sense of Allen. If it is not handled, this radiation will take hundreds of years to dissipate. This has increased the workload of the already short-handed druids. Worm has made rapid progress during this period. It must be said that the blood of the mountain giant is very strong. Now Worm's height has exceeded 2 meters, and this growth is still continuing. Allen scanned it with a chip, and found that when Worm is fully grown, his height is likely to reach 6 meters. Although there is a clear difference in height of 8 to 10 meters with the pure-blooded mountain giant, his flexibility is much higher than that of the pure-blooded mountain giant. The situation in Tebas has stabilized, and Allen is also ready to leave. He needs to return to the wizard world, to make contact and unite the wizard world as soon as possible. After a month of preparation, the plane gate of the Tibus world was finally built. The plane gate was placed in the central square of the Arcane City, next to the main tower of the Arcane Council. Arcane City, Central Square. Several legendary spellcasters of the Arcane Council stood in front of a huge magic circle. Allen slowly walked to the center of the teleportation circle. Around him were arcane crystals. This kind of gem made of magic crystals has good magic conduction and is very effective in combing the energy of the element pool. Many spellcasters in the Arcane Council looked at Allen nervously, and they stared at Allen's figure. Because this teleportation is of great significance, it not only concerns the future of the world of Tibis, but also the beginning of the interstellar era. The symbol of wizard civilization entering the interstellar era is the floating city and the gate of the plane. The powerful combat power of the floating city allows wizards to conquer many worlds, and the gate of the plane can connect all these conquered worlds. With the progress of wizard civilization, the glory of the Arcane Empire period is the ultimate development of wizard civilization so far. The future must belong to wizard organizations with more resources and stronger centripetal force. The resources of a world are limited, so it is common for wizard civilizations that have not entered the interstellar era to plunder and kill each other. Because if they want to grow and develop more, they must occupy the resources they are fighting for. The relationship between wizard organizations during this period is very poor, and wizard wars occur from time to time. This is about human nature that is difficult to eliminate. Mutual killing has caused the number of wizards to remain at a low level, and the pursuit of lethality has led to a small number of academic wizards. The various theories and technologies of wizard civilization will progress slowly. This change has further aggravated the difficulty of the progress of wizard civilization. In the interstellar era, the resources available to wizards are explosively growing because there are countless planes waiting to be conquered. The civil war for resource competition will soon turn into external development. At this time, there will be a shortage of manpower. A mature interstellar civilization requires hundreds of times more wizards than a wizard civilization that has not entered the interstellar era. And this demand will surge as the number of conquered planes increases until they encounter some strong resistance and have to stop. Because of the invasion of the Abyss, the forces of the entire world have united in the world of Tibis. If they can persist, I believe that they will fully enter the interstellar era in 1 or 200 years, but the Abyss will probably not give them this opportunity. The progress of civilization in the wizard continent is far behind that of Tibis, and it is even more distant to enter the interstellar era. Allen intends to intervene in the future of the wizard world. As the shadow of the Abyss covers the entire world, the volume of the Five Rings Tower must be increased, and the power must be integrated as soon as possible to fight against the Abyss. After Allen activated the teleportation array under his feet, the legendary Arcanist Alfred next to him immediately began to assist in casting spells. As the Arcanist who is most proficient in space spells in the world of Tibis, this teleportation array was created by him. Plane teleportation. Accompanied by a dazzling white light, Allen instantly locked the spatial coordinates of the wizard world. Due to the interference of the Abyss energy, the error rate of transmission is very high, and the transmission error will also be astonishingly large. If you do not adjust it, after the transmission is successful, you will find that the distance from the target is even thousands of kilometers away. A strong interference energy appeared, and the space channel kept shifting. Allen concentrated on locking the target. He felt the strong malice of the Abyss will, but with the powerful energy of the teleportation array, these interferences were quickly suppressed. When the space channel was completely stable, Allen's figure disappeared on the teleportation array. Did it succeed? Asked Obasis. Alfred shook his head and said, I don't know. If there is a connection from the other side of the plane gate, it means that Mr. Allen succeeded. If not. Alfred did not say anything more. The expressions of the other people present were different, but Banda was the calmest. He clearly remembered that the boy was only a professional level 10 spellcaster who successfully crossed the plane. Wizard World, Southeast Sea. After passing through the bizarre space gap, Allen's figure appeared on the astrological table. Master, welcome back. The cold voice of Tower Spirit number 1 came. Seeing the familiar scene, Allen finally breathed a sigh of relief. A burst of brisk footsteps came, and then the tall figure of the Maidbus quickly appeared. After seeing Allen, she ran over with a look of surprise. "Master, you are back." Allen picked up the little maid and held her curvy body in his arms, and her head was resting on her towering chest. The little maid was very considerate and stretched out her soft and boneless little hand to gently press Allen's temple. Although the time in the Tebas world was not long, the high-intensity battle exhausted him. Now he needs to take a break from work. Several mermaid maids who followed Buzz quickly knelt around Allen and gently massaged Allen. Tower Spirit number 1. Calculate the energy required to maintain the plane gate. Re-optimize the design of energy transmission. The task has been accepted and is being calculated. Please wait. Tower Spirit number 1 directly displayed a huge 3-dimensional image in front of it, and a large amount of data was constantly added and improved. The establishment of a permanent plane gate requires continuous consumption of energy. Allen's floating tower is still full of energy now, but after the plane gate is installed, the consumption will be very large. The plane gate must be closed in combat. The energy consumption in the wizard tower also needs to be adjusted so that it cannot affect the daily operation of the wizard tower. A large amount of data is constantly analyzed, and soon energy lines appear on the 3-dimensional image, and some new energy nodes also appear on it. Chapter 357, Door to the Plains. 2. The energy channel of the observatory was modified by Allen again. 3 energy circuits were added to the original one, and a huge central crystal was added in the middle. After the construction is completed, it will consume 3% of the energy of the element pool, and each transmission will consume a huge amount of energy. As the adjustment was completed, Allen stood up and snapped his fingers. A flash of light flashed and cleared all the dust on his body. Tower Spirit number 1. Activate the element pool. Start transmitting energy. Light blue energy gushed out from the element pool, and soon those densely engraved runes began to flicker, and the runes were connected to each other to form an extremely complicated rune array. Buzz buzz buzz. The plane gate vibrated slightly, and the entire rune array shone with light. Allen stretched out his hand and pressed on the central crystal, and a purple energy began to gather. Start charging. Prepare to activate the plane gate. Under Allen's control, the plane gate finally slowly opened. At the same time, in the Tebas plane, in the Arcane City, in Abyssis, Alfred and others were anxiously waiting, and the space gate in front of them lit up with a faint spiritual light. Sir Allen succeeded. Hurry up and start the plane gate. Test it immediately. Alfred shouted loudly, and then the element pool began to supply energy, and the entire plane gate started to operate. A space channel slowly opened. However, before the space channel could stabilize, a distortion occurred, and the opened space gate instantly shattered into countless fragments. The space barrier tore a large number of small holes with a bang. The running plane gate shook slightly, and then flashed several times, and turned into dots of light. The running plane gate also stopped abruptly. At the same time, on the astronomical table, the already opened space channel in front of Allen twisted, and then there was a slight bang, and the channel was instantly closed, and the running plane gate stopped. The interference is a bit big. Allen frowned and said, the energy field around the Tebas world is seriously disturbed. Allen was in charge of the transmission in the past. This time, he wanted to build a long-term space channel, but it was interrupted directly because of the interference field. Chip. Lock the space coordinates. Start calculating the space deviation, recalculate the space coefficient, and correct the space channel. With such serious interference, if an accident occurs during the transmission, you will be trapped in the space gap, and even be torn apart by the space-time storm. The caster who has not reached the legendary level has no power to resist. There are also space turbulence, wormholes, and space-time storms in the space gap. If you are unlucky, who knows where you will be thrown into an unknown corner. Start data verification. Comparing the simulation data of the space channel. Start correcting the space model. As the Tower Spirit performed calculations, Allen began to correct the space coefficient and strengthen the anti-interference ability of the space channel. Huge amounts of data flowed rapidly in front of Allen. After several upgrades and evolutions, the biochip has become an astronomical number at this time. It can process a large amount of information in an instant. A new space channel model appeared in front of Allen, with space coordinates marked on it one by one. The space channel was constantly improved, and finally the new space channel model was completed. Complete calculations. The spatial channel model is complete. The spatial channel has been modified and improved. As the cold mechanical sound of the chip sounded, the huge data stream slowly dissipated, and a model of a spatial channel appeared in front of Allen. Allen began to modify the optimized spatial channel. Some of the runes engraved on the plane gate in front of him were gently wiped off, and then some runes were re-engraved. Soon Allen completed the transformation of the plane gate again. Activate the element pool again, and the plane gate will start again. With a purple aura rising, the spatial channel slowly opened again. At the same time, in the world of Tibis, the city of Arcane, the plane gate lit up again. Sir Alfred, the plane gate is activated again. Quick, open the element pool. As the energy channel opened, the spatial channel opened again, and as the energy of the element pool was consumed, the spatial channel gradually stabilized. Allen looked at the stable spatial channel in front of him, took out a magic crystal, engraved a secret mark on it, and then activated the plane gate to transmit it. With a flash of aura, the crystal ball disappeared. In the world of Tibis, in a wasteland not far from the Arcane City, a purple crack suddenly opened in the air, and then a crystal ball was thrown out from the crack. As soon as the crystal ball appeared, a spiritual light burst out. In the Arcane City, a spiritual light rose from the plane gate in front of Alfred, who was anxiously waiting. The spiritual light dissipated, but nothing happened. Failed again. Alfred sighed softly when he saw the empty plane gate. Wizard Tower. Allen sensed the position of the crystal ball. The distance between the secret mark and the plane gate was not far, and this time the transmission was not successful. However, the deviation is not large, and this distance is already within the acceptable range. Chip. Make the third deviation correction. After several corrections, a crystal ball finally appeared at the plane gate of Tibis. After the successful transmission, Allen finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the reserve energy of the element pool was almost dry, and Allen closed the plane gate. With a gentle wave of his hand, an energy barrier emerged, completely wrapping up the entire plane gate. After closing the plane door, Allen breathed a sigh of relief, and rubbed his swollen and painful temples. The maid who had been standing behind him hurried forward and gently pressed with her fingers. Selena, is dinner ready for today? Allen twisted his body, to make himself more comfortable. Master, it's ready, the mermaid Selena said softly. Tonight, chocolate pudding, secret barbecue, fried steak, sweet and sour carb, minced meat sea cucumber, truffle seafood soup, rainbow shells, squirrel mandarin fish are prepared. Selena soon reported the menu for tonight. These dishes were only available in Allen's previous life. This productivity was only in the wizarding world of the Middle Ages, and the types of dishes were pitifully few. Well, add a dessert after dinner, Allen said after thinking about it. What dessert would the master like to eat? Selena asked in a sweet voice. Have some blizzard ice cream. I'll prepare it for you. Blizzard ice cream is a dessert invented by Allen. It needs to be made with an ice storm, and cream, honey, chocolate, and fruit are added to it. Finally, it is processed with an ice storm spell. It tastes very good. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, Door to the Plains, 3. 2 days later, the energy of the element pool was full again. Allen came to the astrological table and began to adjust the spatial coordinates of the plane gate. Today was the first time the plane gate was officially opened after the connection. The Tibis world was preparing to send the Archdruid to the wizard world. Then he went to the Five Rings Tower with Allen, as the first official contact between the Arcane Council and the Five Rings Tower. There could be no mistakes in this transmission. After another correction, Allen began to activate the element pool. As the light blue energy was slowly injected, the runes on the plane gate began to glow. Tower Spirit number 1. Start charging. One after another, the light purple crystals lit up, and the central crystal burst into purple light. With the influx of energy, the plane gate began to start. Buzz buzz buzz. There was a low muffled sound, and the entire plane gate vibrated gently. All the runes lit up, and a mysterious rune array emerged one after another. As the light became more and more dazzling, a powerful energy began to gather. When the energy gathered more and more, and reached a critical point, a space crack was torn in the middle of the plane gate. Tibis, the city of Arcane. Almost at the same time when Allen opened the plane gate here lit up at the same time. Alfred, who had been waiting for a long time, directly opened the element pool. As the element pool opened, a large amount of energy poured into the plane gate, and the plane gate began to slowly start. Mysterious rune arrays appeared on the plane gate, and violent fluctuations began to appear in the middle of the plane gate. However, the interference energy of the Tibis world was very strong, and the space channel kept trembling, as if it would break and collapse at any time. Increase the energy supply. Seeing that the space gate kept trembling, Alfred ordered directly. Soon a wave of energy poured into the plane gate, and under the strong energy supply, the space channel began to gradually stabilize. Wizard Tower, Astrology Observatory. When the space channel was completely stable, Allen sensed it at the first time, opened the portal authority, and the space channel was completely connected. Finally connected, Allen slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Prepare for transmission. Our time is limited, and the energy consumption of the transmission channel is too high. Allen looked at the scale marked by the energy of the element pool next to him, and said in a deep voice, Tibis, the city of Arcane. Alfred breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the space channel stabilize. An old man holding a tree staff and a crown of thorns came out. William. Alfred shouted. William turned around after hearing the shout, and then looked around at the other people around him. Please. Obsis said solemnly. William nodded slowly. Take care. Take care. After saying that, William turned around and walked directly to the middle of the plane gate, and then stepped into the space channel. A dazzling aura rose. The next moment, the figure disappeared. As the figure disappeared, the space channel slowly closed, and the light of the plane gate gradually dimmed. Wizard Tower, Astronomical Observatory. As a ray of aura slowly dissipated, a figure appeared in the plane gate. Welcome to the wizard world, Sir William. Allen smiled and gave a wizard salute. Thank you very much for your help, Sir Allen. William saluted solemnly and said, Welcome to my wizard tower. What would you like to eat? Allen snapped his fingers, and a set of tables and chairs appeared in front of the two. Allen extended his hand to make an invitation gesture, and then sat down. A glass of water. William said. Bus, pour a glass of water for Sir William. Allen waved his hand and said, The profession of druid is a bit like the ascetic monks in the previous life. They advocate nature, do not enjoy material things, live in the wilderness, and even do not wear clothes or wear clothes made of leaves. They do not rely on various materials, and pursue the way of nature. So Allen was not surprised at all when William asked for a glass of water. Soon Bess brought the water over, and served Allen a cup of tea. Allen waved his hand to let her leave, and then began to speak. I have informed you of your arrival. Tomorrow I will take you to the Five Rings Tower to meet the Dean. The wizard world is different from the Tibis world. There are many wizard organizations here. It is very difficult to unite all to support Tibis. You have to be mentally prepared. Allen picked up the teacup and took a sip. The faint fragrance of tea filled his mouth. I understand. We have already said in Tibis that we will follow the arrangement of Mr. Allen this time. William drank the water and nodded. This world is also invaded by the abyss. The power of the abyss has polluted many lands here. I would like to ask you to help us clean up these hidden dangers. No problem, these are not difficult for me. The wizard world is not safe. There are still some dark wizards here. Some of their research may make you feel unacceptable, but I would like to ask you to remain restrained. I will. Seeing William agreed, Allen nodded. Fortunately, William is not a druid of the School of Balance. There are several types of druids. The most famous ones are the School of Balance, the School of Wildness, the School of Nature and the School of Guardian. Among them, the School of Balance is the most paranoid. In Allen's view, this group of people is simply unreasonable. They do not use any human creations, are hostile to all unnatural items, advocate nature, protect nature, and maintain the balance of nature. When a species in an area is rampant and affects other populations, these druids will directly take action. How to restore the number of this population to normal range? It's very simple: humane destruction. This species includes humans. If there are too many humans in an area, these druids will kill the extra humans. This makes most humans and other intelligent life hostile to them. If such a group of druids of the School of Balance appear in the wizard world, then the wizards will fight with these druids of the School of Balance at the first time. The human-shaped radiation source of wizards is a heresy that needs to be eliminated in the eyes of druids. The biggest feature of the druids of the School of Wildness is transformation. Giant bears, giant wolves, giant eagles, and even some other creatures, these druids can transform and are very powerful. And they can also communicate with animals and have animal companions. In the woods, they are even more difficult to deal with than elves. The School of Nature is more normal. This school can be proficient in healing spells and various herbs, and also has a lot of attack spells. They have a deep understanding of various plants and animals, and also have animal companions. The druids of this school belong to the Lawful Good camp, and are also the most popular school. The druids of the Guardian school are proficient in healing spells and summoning spells. It is said that they have signed contracts with some dragons, and can summon fairy dragons, crystal dragons, and gem dragons. Of course, the appearance fee of the dragons is very high. This spell is equivalent to throwing money at people. Chapter 359. This chapter is very boring. I suggest you skip it. Although druids are divided into many schools, they are not unable to use the abilities of other schools, but they are not proficient in them. For example, all druids can do some basic things. Every druid is a versatile warrior because they can meet almost every role: treatment, tank, and damage output, sometimes even cast some spells instead of wizards. All druids dislike alchemists because they think that the things made by alchemists often destroy nature. During the Arcane Empire, large alchemy workshops would emit a large amount of pollutants, causing serious pollution to the material world. It can be said that there were deep conflicts between the Arcane Empire and the druids at that time. If you ask what the druids hate the most, or even hate the most, the answer is not the abyss, but the mechanical realm of Clock Nirvana. This is a plane with ultimate order. It is the birthplace of all planes of order. It is the adjustment machine of the multiverse. In the mechanical realm, order is regarded as the highest principle, no matter where it is. It is composed of completely equal light and dark bands, and completely equal heat and cold. This plane looks like a water drop clock, and has a distinct tree-shaped domain. The mechanic is also called the time tree. In the mechanic, each law constitutes an independent gear kingdom, and all operations are carried out according to their own rules. Each cog works with huge computing data. In addition to those puzzling legal functions, even the various divine powers cannot understand the effects of these data. The mechanic is the straightest and flattest of all the outer planes. Order and justice are the norm here. Every type of law can be found in the clock world of the mechanic, from simple mottos to complex and twisted etiquette laws. Druids seem out of place here. This is a world of gears and machines. The gravity of each area in the mechanic is different. It is difficult for ordinary people to survive here. Many of the intelligent life living here came here from other planes for various reasons. It can be said that there is no natural breath here at all. There are machines, steam, and gears everywhere. The sky is always grey and filled with smoke. There is no tree or plant on the ground. But this is a paradise for alchemists. Legend has it that there is even a complete floating city deep in the mechanical realm. The mechanical realm is a borderless plane with no specific defined levels. The endless void is filled with huge gears that mesh with each other, just like the cogs of a clock decorated with carvings inside. Most of the cogs have a diameter of more than 1,000 miles, and rotate slowly and unpredictably. However, when they are running, some witnesses say that there are many smaller cogs the size of small islands connecting many other larger gears. Gears and devices of all sizes make up the clock, and the volume of the entire clock is about the same as the Asian continent. The mechanical realm also has indigenous people. Unlike the flesh and blood life in the main material world, there are all kinds of constructed creatures living here, from the lowest level to legendary and even demigods. As for who created these constructed creatures, there is still no answer. Some arcanists even believe that these constructed creatures can create constructed creatures by themselves. They have their own factories and can produce like assembly lines, but these are all speculations and have not been confirmed. Some useless gears are floating around the mechanical realm. Some void creatures live on them, which are full of hostility to outsiders. This is a plane that completely distorts the concept of reality. If it is a visitor from other material planes, I'm afraid that everything will overturn their past understanding. The entire mechanical realm is fixed by spells. At least the power of weak divine power is needed to change the mechanical realm, and ordinary things need to use spells and physical effects to change some things with difficulty. The characteristic of the mechanical realm is time, but no one knows how to touch it, so this plane has no elemental and energy characteristics. There is a strong tendency towards order in the mechanical realm, and anyone who is not in the lawful camp will be suppressed. In other words, this plane is very extreme and is very unfriendly to the neutral camp and the chaotic camp. There is also a legend that this plane was created by the ancient god of order. The magic characteristics of the mechanical realm are normal, and most magic can be cast normally. In addition to the constructed creatures in the mechanical realm, there is another very dangerous creature, the Fumiant tribe. Their nests are spread throughout the mechanicum. These ant-like creatures seek out all the colonies they can see, and then like worker bees, they devour everything that lives on them, and subject it to the laws of their queen. The Formis are a branch of the Zerg, which have never been popular in the multiverse. The mechanicum has a small number of petitioners. The chance of encountering them is rare, just as the number of gods who have attached their kingdoms to this plane is rare. Vision is normal in the mechanicum. The daytime on this plane is illuminated by a sudden light from the void for 12 hours, and then completely dark for 12 hours. Hearing is also normal here, although sometimes a rumbling bass sound caused by the rotation of cogs on cogs can be heard at the edge of the ground. There is a kind of building here called a nest cog. They are the bases of the Formis, and the ant nest cities composed of excellent buildings exist on the surface of the cogs in their colonies. Each colony nest cogs retains thousands of workers, warriors, and foremen, as well as many more Formis guards. In any case, each cog will have only one queen, and their orders are the absolute law of the nest cog. Usually two queens will cooperate with each other, unless they choose the same cog as their colony, which will lead toward you to different laws. If a queen chooses a cog as her colony, she will send a detachment to protect the precious queen larvae. The hatching time of a young queen takes at least hundreds or even thousands of years. Here we must mention a very special existence. That is, the mother of all ants. There is an empire ruled by the Fumiants in the mechanical world. They are constantly building colonies on the gears of the mechanical world, all of which are inhabited by a large number of Fumiants. And in the heart of the Fumiant Empire, surrounding all the important colony cogs, at its core lives the mother of all ants. All Fumiants believe that the diameter of the cog, where the mother of all ants is at least 3,000 miles, and this cog is the core of all mechanical world cogs, and makes other cogs move with it. Whether it is a fact or a simple belief, both sides of the core cog are covered with solemn ant nest cities, and the surface is shrouded in divine light. The mother of 10,000 ants claims to be a mid-level deity, although this statement is difficult to verify. 33 of the highest level Fui queen ants always follow the mother of 10,000 ants to protect the safety of the ant ruler. In the cognition of the druids, the mechanical realm of clockwork nirvana is a complete hell, a blasphemy against nature, and should be completely destroyed. But this plane has always existed, and is very dangerous. You never know how many construct puppet legions are hidden in it. Thanks to the book Friends 20180620083046046 and the Abyss Giant for the reward. Chapter 360 Discussion. The next day, Allen brought William back to the Five Rings Tower. The atmosphere in the Five Rings Tower was a bit solemn. Although they had experienced the Wizard War and the Abyss invasion, the Academy had always been a relatively relaxed learning atmosphere. Compared to when Allen first came, the welfare of the Academy has been improved by more than one level, but this time, when he came back, the soul gathering tree outside the Academy had been awakened, and Allen clearly felt that the number of fighting wizards had increased a lot. Sir Allen. Sir Allen. Along the way, someone greeted Allen from time to time, and looked at William beside him curiously. Allen nodded to these wizards without explaining. Sir Allen. The Dean. Please come over. Not long after Allen entered the academy, a second level wizard hurried over and said to Allen, "I know, lead the way." Following this wizard, they soon arrived at the main tower of the Five Rings Tower. After bringing the two to the front of the tower, the wizard stopped. "Sir Allen, please. The dean is waiting for you at the astronomical observatory." Yes. As a second level wizard, he was not qualified to participate in the academy's major events, so he could not enter the main tower. Allen nodded to him and walked into the wizard tower. Astrology table. At this time, there were already more than a dozen people waiting here, led by Dean Alfred. The other 4 tower masters were also there, and some were high level wizards stationed in the secret resources. The lowest of them was a level 3 wizard. It can be said that more than 70% of the high level wizards in the Five Rings Tower were gathered here. "Sir Dean, what happened to summon us urgently this time?" A middle-aged wizard in a red wizard robe asked. "There are some things to discuss, but we need to wait for some people first." Alfred smiled and said. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what the inside story was, so they had to continue waiting. Soon Allen and William came to the top of the tower. Allen had not lived in the Five Rings Tower for a long time. Allen was not familiar with many wizards in the astrology table. After greeting Dean Alfred, Allen took William to a seat and sat down. "Sir Allen, let's start." Alfred looked around and said, "Okay." Allen nodded and stood up. "Everyone, I won't say more about the Abyss invasion. Everyone knows the harm of the Abyss. This time I want to talk about solving this problem." Allen looked around and continued. "During this period, the Abyss has been infiltrating our world. Demons have appeared in many places, and many wizards have died in these invasions. We have repelled the Abyss's attacks several times, and killed many of its minions, achieving brilliant results. However, these are just appearances. The Abyss did not launch a large-scale attack on our world, only because it was entangled by other worlds. The Abyss is now attacking our world's neighbor, the Tebas world. It is precisely because of the existence of the Tebas world that we can easily get rid of those demons." Allen told the information about the Tebas world to the high-level officials of the Five Rings Tower, and then returned to their positions. After a while, these people finally digested the news, and looked at William. "Sir Allen, is this wizard the messenger from the Tebas world?" "This is Sir William. He is indeed from Tebas, but he is not a wizard, but a druid." Allen nodded and said, "Sir William, can you please explain the situation of Tebas world and Abyss?" Alfred said, "Sir Dean, I'd be happy to." William nodded seriously and began to tell the story of the war between Tebas world and Abyss. It took about 2 hours for William to tell the story of the confrontation between Tebas and Abyss. At this time, the atmosphere on the astrological platform became more and more intense. These people finally had a clear understanding of Abyss, instead of the previous understanding from the data. "Sir William, you said you are going to build a floating city to deal with Abyss?" Hearing William say that Tebas was actually going to build a floating city, the wizards in the Five Ring Tower took a breath of cold air. As wizards, they knew very well how much technology was needed to build a floating city. Let's talk about the core energy technology first. The floating rings and anti-gravity structures to reduce the weight of the entire floating city are a problem. There is also the defense system of the entire floating city. He must meet the requirements of the floating city to operate in the star world. There is no gravity or air in the astral world. The protection system must make the internal environment of the floating city close to that of the material world. There are also thousands of technologies such as artificial gravity, artificial sunlight, ecological farms, golem factories, oxygen reduction chambers, etc. As the highest achievement of the Arcane Empire civilization, the emergence of a floating city is the result of the collection of the achievements of the entire civilization technology. Yes, only by successfully building a floating city can we be sure to expel the Abyss. Speaking of expelling the Abyss, William's face was full of longing. "Have you succeeded now?" Nicholas, the tower master of the alchemy tower, looked at William with shining eyes. "Well, no, although we have completed a lot of work, there are still some problems that have not been solved." William said a little embarrassed. "Huh." After hearing William say that it was not successful, these people breathed a sigh of relief. But then William continued, "But we are now perfecting the technology. Our floating city is not ready to enter the astral world. So many technologies are not needed. The only problem now is the energy problem. As long as the energy is solved, the floating city can take off and fight. Sir William, in principle, our 5 Rings Tower agrees to help you. Alfred said after thinking for a while. We sympathize with what happened to the Tebas world, but our world is also facing a crisis, so we must unite with other wizard organizations before making a decision. This kind of war across dimensions is simply not something that our 5 Rings Tower Academy can sustain. We are now very clear about the horror of the abyss, but wizards advocate equal exchange. If we finally reach an agreement, we will form a coalition to fight the abyss with you, and you must give us what we need. Alfred said with a serious face. This is natural. As long as you can help us fight the abyss, we can give you what you need in exchange. This is fair. William nodded and agreed. Of course, I hope we can reach an agreement on your formation of a coalition as soon as possible. The abyss will not give us too many opportunities to accumulate strength. I understand, but the situation in the wizard world is a bit complicated, so please wait for some time. Chapter 361 Demi-Plane. There are dozens of wizard organizations in this world. We must unite most of them, otherwise we will not be able to conduct cross-dimensional warfare. After thousands of years of fighting and scrambling for resources, many wizard organizations have deep hatred for each other. It is very difficult to do this. Alfred said helplessly. I know it's difficult, but someone has to do it. William smiled bitterly and said slowly, I will go with you. I hope we can convince other wizards. Yes, several wizard organizations sent envoys when the abyss invaded. They are likely to agree. I will notify them as soon as possible. Please wait patiently. During this period, we will discuss with several wizard organizations around us. Alfred's eyes flashed with a gleam of light. The surrounding Ghost Tower, Emerald Tower, and Lava Tower, the 3 defeated 5 Ring Towers, were still very deterrent. Allen did not participate in the next thing. After all, he was also very busy. He needed to sort out the things he got. The mummy world got a lot of eternal spring water, which contained extremely rich vitality, and could be easily absorbed. In the legend of the mummy world, taking these springs will gain eternal life, but after Allen studied it, he found that these springs cannot make people immortal, but they can extend people's lifespan to thousands of years. These springs contain vitality and energy, which is very helpful for wizards. There is a very famous thing in alchemy, called the Philosopher's Stone. This gem is a legendary gem in alchemy. It has many uses. It can provide wizards with extra power, such as temporary blessing of various attributes, spells that can be cast without spending magic power, and life. The Philosopher's Stone can provide a wizard with 1,000 years of life. This increase has no side effects, and is simple and crude. Therefore, this Philosopher's Stone is very popular in the wizarding world. The main material in the Philosopher's Stone is a high concentration spring of life produced in the Elf Kingdom. The effect is very similar to the Fountain of Eternal Life, but it is far less effective than the Fountain of Eternal Life. There are also some low-profile versions of the Philosopher's Stone, such as the Blood Essence Stone, which can increase life by 30 to 60 years. In addition to the Eternal Spring, Allen also got a legendary Soul Crystal. This was the trophy he got from killing the two-headed ogre in Tebas. Allen planned to use it to make a legendary constructed life. The Wizard Tower always felt unsafe without a few legendary puppet golems. With the previous clone of Tower Spirit number 1, Allen was able to build 2 legendary golems this time. After saying hello, Allen left the astrological table and went to the mission hall to retrieve various items first, and then settled the mission rewards. Many items were too time consuming for Allen to collect alone, so Allen distributed them in the form of tasks, and then used potions to alchemize items as rewards. The magic items Allen made now are hot items in the 5 Rings Tower. After getting the supplies, Allen left the academy without staying for long, and returned to the Southeast Sea area. He came directly to the storage room, which was full of various resources, and the most of them was gold. All of this gold was brought back from various worlds. The Diamond Golem is a legendary constructed golem. The main body of the golem is made of diamond, with precious materials such as fine gold, rune steel, mithril, star sand, and silver sand legendary quality soul crystal added. The cost is far higher than other golem puppets. High investment must have higher returns. Such a high cost diamond golem has amazing combat power. It is not only immune to 90% of physical attacks, but also has a high damage immunity. It also has a high spell resistance. The golden stone golem is immune to most spells. This legendary constructed life is difficult to be destroyed by conventional means. A diamond grinding statue can press a matured dragon to the ground and rub it. Of course, the premise is that the dragon does not fly and fights the diamond golem on the ground. Many times, if you want to destroy the diamond golem, you have to use some of its designed effects to carry out specific tactics to destroy it. But if there is a high level tower spirit command or human wisdom, then you can only rely on hardness. With the hardness of diamond, most weapons cannot break the defense at all, and the tool for cutting diamond is also diamond. With exaggerated defense and explosive combat power, this golem seems to be perfect, but it has no anti-air capability. So it is often used in conjunction with other golems. The weight of a diamond golem is several tons. Most golems are very heavy, because if they are not heavy enough, they are likely to be overturned by their opponents during the battle, especially against large creatures such as demons. Diamond is also called diamond. The higher the quality of the diamond, the better the magic conduction performance, and the more expensive it is. Basically, high quality diamonds are calculated according to carats, and 1 carat is equal to 0.2 grams. If Allen had not obtained the gem island, it would be difficult to gather the raw materials for several diamond golems. Select the required materials from the storage room, then wave your hand to close a storage room. With a flick of your finger, a spiritual light rises, and Allen's figure appears directly in the demi-plane. Today's demi-plane has become full of vitality. There are many kinds of marine life in the ocean, which form a complete ecological chain. Large and small coral reefs make this sea area extremely beautiful. There are many delicious magic seafoods produced here. Some mermaids are responsible for managing them. In another sea area, many magic clams are cultivated here. Allen has checked the progress here. The first batch of magic pearls are about to grow and can be collected soon. This is another source of income for Allen. These magic pearls have many uses and contain pure water element energy. The land is also full of vitality. Allen modified a team of clay puppets and installed various agricultural machines on them. These clay golems have simple wisdom and can cultivate the land, sow, weed, fertilize and harvest on their own. However, sometimes mermaid maids are still needed for guidance. This technology is also applied to the cultivation of magic plants. The vast land resources in the demi-plane require many clay golems to cultivate. With the magma element, the earth has geothermal heat, and various metal deposits have also formed veins underground. But now these veins are still small, and need some time to grow. Allen placed the heart of the stone giant in the magma. With this thing, the demi-plane will slowly grow. In the earth elemental plane, many large mountains grew out of the heart of the stone giant. Chapter 362 Diamond Golem. The heart of the stone giant is also the inheritance of the stone giant. It will give birth to a new stone giant, but this is impossible for Allen's heart of the stone giant. After checking that the half plane is running well, Allen came to the sea area, where the gem island is stored. The widest part of the gem island is about 100 meters, presenting an irregular circle, with a trident-shaped hill on it, and the island presents an irregular hemisphere. The weight of the entire island is 53,1415*4/3*3.96 over 2 equals 1,036,695 tons. So the weight of the entire gem island exceeds 1 million tons. There are all kinds of gems, and the number of diamonds exceeds half. If each diamond golem requires 3 tons of diamonds, then in order to consume all the diamonds in this island, it will take 150,000 diamond golems. This number is terrifying to think about. However, this is an impossible task, and the most critical legendary soul crystal is not easy to find. With a wave of his hand, a staff appeared in Allen's hand, and the rune restrictions all around opened a crack, and Allen flashed in. The sea water retreated to the surroundings, exposing the entire gem island. Allen lightly tapped with the staff, and a diamond weighing several tons was separated from the island. With a stroke of his hand, a space crack appeared, and Allen directly put the disassembled gem into the dimensional space. Then the rune restrictions were restored to their original state. Returning to the wizard tower again, Allen did not stay for long, and went directly to the alchemy laboratory. The manufacturing process of the diamond golem is very high, and first of all, advanced gem technology must be mastered. The hardness of diamond is very high, and a specific rune engraving knife is required, and then the diamond is reasonably cut. The diamond needs to be processed by special technology before it can be used. A large number of diamonds are suspended in the air, and strange silver-white runes appear on the surface of the diamond. These mysterious runes form small rune arrays in a certain sequence. As the rune array is completed, a ray of light passes, and then the rune array on the surface of the diamond slowly converges and enters the interior of the diamond. Allen looked at the diamond in front of him with a serious expression. 3 rune sequences were engraved on the diamond. The runes were spiral shaped and connected end to end. The 3 rune sequences were intertwined, but they complemented each other. Each rune sequence was composed of a large number of rune traces. The 3 rune sequences constructed a complete rune array. As the last rune was completed, the entire rune array lit up with a white light and then slowly disappeared. The main body of the diamond golem has been completed. Allen finally breathed a sigh of relief. Next, he began to assemble the various parts of the diamond golem, including the head, arms, limbs, torso and other parts. The entire golem was divided into many small parts and then assembled. Allen planned to build a golem factory in the future, and all parts needed to be standardized. Then, it was produced and assembled like an assembly line, and finally the soul was injected, and a golem construct was completed. When the golem factory is established, Allen will not have to do it himself every time he makes a golem, which is a constant waste of time and slow. It takes a lot of time to build a golem army. The golem factory also needs a tower spirit to control and command a large number of clay golems to work. Although the combat power of clay golems is limited, it is still very convenient to use as coolies. It is low in cost, easy to build, and has low maintenance costs. However, the golem factory is a big energy consumer, and the current element pool cannot support it at all. The entire diamond golem is more than 3 meters and weighs more than 3 tons. There are many gold and silver patterns wrapped around the golem's body. These patterns are all engraved rune arrays. The main body of the golem is completed. Allen took out a purple soul crystal, which is the soul of the diamond golem. Allen carefully began to carve on the soul crystal. There is only one of this thing. Once it fails, it is equivalent to the end of a diamond golem. He can't be careless. A silk thread with a golden luster slowly merged into the soul crystal. A layer of faint golden light appeared on the surface of the soul crystal. Rune marks were carefully engraved. Allen was fully focused, and the carving knife in his hand did not tremble at all. As time went by, the soul core was finally built. A large amount of golden light was wrapped around the purple soul core, and then the light converged. The soul core became crystal clear, like a crystal material. Put the soul core into the chest of the completed diamond golem statue, and reach out to take out the staff. Allen slowly chanted the spell, and an invisible force enveloped the laboratory, and powerful energy began to gather. Soul construction, legendary spell, limited prayer spell, activate constructed life. A strange power merged into the diamond golem in front of him, and with the integration of this power, a strange soul was born in the diamond golem. With some slight noises, the diamond golem slowly opened its eyes. "Master, excuse me, what can I do for you?" Seeing the diamond golem move, Allen breathed a sigh of relief with satisfaction, and then walked around the 6-meter tall giant. As a legendary diamond golem, its wisdom is higher than that of clay golems, stone golems, and steel golems, although its wisdom is not as good as that of humans. Allen brought the diamond golem to the training ground and began to conduct a combat test on it. Allen tested it quickly. The diamond golem has a high defense. Ordinary magic weapons cannot cause any damage at all. It is completely immune to low-level spells. The full strength attack of a second-level wizard can only cause some minor damage, but it poses no threat to the diamond golem at all. The soul of the diamond golem can be injected with some skills by itself, such as slashing, spinning, defending, and attacking, etc. Allen handed all these over to Tower Spirit number 1 to operate. After completing the first diamond golem, Allen started to make the second one. With the experience of the first one, the production went smoothly this time. This diamond golem does not need to prepare a soul core, because his soul is the clone of the Tower Spirit. Take out an earth element core, and then engrave some rune arrays on it. After directly infusing the Tower Spirit clone into it, the construction of this diamond golem was completed. Unlike the previous diamond golem, the diamond golem controlled by the Tower Spirit clone is more intelligent. These two diamond golems were incorporated into the guard sequence of the wizard tower. The diamond golem possesses powerful melee capabilities, abnormal defense, and spell-like abilities. With such powerful protection, the safety factor of the entire wizard tower has surpassed that of an ordinary legend. To forcefully break through here requires a strength of at least a high-level legend. Chapter 363 Parliament. After completing the diamond golem, Allen returned to his peaceful daily work, conducting research and learning every day. As a qualified legendary wizard, it is necessary to master enough super magic expertise. In many cases, the combat effectiveness of a legendary wizard is directly related to the super magic expertise he has mastered. Allen had to share the technical information of the element furnace with Tibis. Although there has been considerable progress, there are still many problems. The element furnace is very dangerous. Allen does not know the principle of the miser energy core. He only knows that it relies on the magic net and can stably extract energy from the magic net. The element furnace uses element fission or element fusion. Both of these situations are completed in an instant and then burst out huge energy. Controlling the reaction speed is very critical. With continuous research, Allen has already had a preliminary idea for the element furnace. If the energy problem of the floating tower is solved, the next step is to upgrade the floating tower into a floating city. Allen's floating city cannot be built according to the arcane city in the world of Tibis. The arcane city in the world of Tibis gathers the power of the entire plane, has sufficient spellcasters and various resources, and some rare resources can also be obtained, so it can be built very large. It is impossible for Allen to achieve this with his own strength, so the floating city needs to be simplified as much as possible, and space for upgrading and transformation needs to be left. There are many parts required for the floating city, including floating towers, golem factories, energy storage areas, ecological parks, residential areas, weapons and equipment, mission halls, air circulation systems, etc. Of course, so many parts cannot be completed at one time. Allen plans to use the central area of Atlantis City directly as the main body of the floating city, so there is no need to build a city again, but many places in Atlantis City need to be modified. Construction method: Allen plans to use assembly construction, and each component is detachable. The advantage of this method is that it can be built in sections, and it is also convenient to repair and replace after serious damage. The Five Rings Tower was already contacting other wizard organizations at this time. The first to be contacted were the Wizard Alliance and the Blind Eye. Both wizard organizations were large wizard organizations, and they had a good relationship with the Five Rings Tower. When they learned that other worlds were eroded by the abyss and came to this world for help, the two wizard organizations sent enough wizards to come as soon as possible. Allen was also invited to the meeting. As the wizard who knew Tibis best, they had a lot to confirm with Allen. The proposal to form an alliance to fight the abyss together was not as smooth as expected. Wizards are not saints. On the contrary, they attach great importance to interests. For a wizard civilization that is about to enter the astral era, it is very difficult to conduct a cross-dimensional battle. I'm sorry, Sir William. Although I sympathize with the plight of your world, this cannot make our wizard alliance determined to go to Tibis to provide support. The wizard world is now also full of dangers, and there are also a group of corrupted black wizards who are willing to be the running dogs of the abyss. We are involved in a lot of energy. If we go to support Tibis, we may be messed up by these corrupted people. A blind witch stood up and said. Her eyes were closed, and her beautiful face was a little sickly pale. My eyes saw the future, which was full of fog, and I couldn't see the light. I understand your concerns, Ms. Alka. William's somewhat low voice sounded. The prophecy has been mostly ineffective in this period. The power of the abyss will cover the future, unless you can pass through the obstacles of the abyss, and you should understand that the role of prophecy is extremely limited, and the future is not immutable. It is better for you not to peek into the fate of the whole world. Few people can bear the cost of the backlash. William Oak looked at the witch with closed eyes and continued. We will try to unite the vast majority of wizards. I hope you can join us at that time. I know this task is difficult, but I will not give up for my hometown. The abyss is our common enemy. If Tibus is swallowed by the abyss one day, do you think the wizard world can escape? William said with a serious expression. Even if the Tibus world is occupied by the abyss, they need to digest their spoils. Every invasion of the abyss is in the period of elemental tide, and the elemental tide lasts only a few hundred years. It is very likely that after the abyss digests the Tibus world, it will fall into elemental silence again, and the abyss plane will stop expanding outward. A somewhat fiery voice interrupted William's words. It would be good to defeat the will of the abyss, but now we are not sure to defeat them. William remained silent. I think we should not escape, or even deceive ourselves into believing that the abyss will stop after swallowing Tibus. Instead of hoping that the abyss will stop, it is better to work hard to strengthen ourselves. Allen said in a deep voice. Is it possible to hope for the mercy of the opponent? The appetite of the abyss exceeds your imagination. Facing Allen's words, the wizard obviously hadn't thought about this problem. Some people are like this, unwilling to face reality even at the last moment. Everyone, our Tibus world has mastered more advanced technology than the wizard world. We will share information with wizard organizations that are willing to help the Tibus world and help us fight against the abyss. You know, our Arcane Council has inherited some of the technologies handed down from the Arcane Empire, such as floating tower technology, floating city technology, and some super magic expertise. These are all needed by the wizard world. We in the Tibus world are very sincere. William Oak took a deep breath and took out the chips in his hand. Hearing William Oak's words, several wizards looked at each other, and then a man in a white wizard robe stood up and said slowly, Sir William, I know you have paid an incalculable price to fight against the abyss. We are willing to fight against the abyss with you, but we need to obtain the technology you mentioned. After hearing this, William's face finally became much more relaxed. Okay, as long as the alliance is officially established, we will abide by our promise, and I hope you will do the same. Our world is already in a precarious situation. The greed of the abyss is endless. It will extend its tentacles to other worlds, and you are also the target of the abyss. The abyss is watching you. Chapter 364 Alex. After the Wizard Union and the Blind Eye decided to form an alliance with Tibus, Allen left. The rest was their bargaining, and Allen had no time to listen to these arguments. He was going to the Tower of Wisdom to find some wizard manuscripts to see if he could find some inspiration. Many wizards don't like to write books. They will record their knowledge in notes and manuscripts, but they will not write them into books. There are many such manuscripts and notes in the Five Rings Tower. The Academy has sorted and classified these manuscripts and notes many times, but the sorted ones are still a small part. Underground secrets. In the dim underground cave, a team of wizards are on their way. The leader is a tall figure with a shaved head, with bulging muscles all over his body and a combat wizard badge on his chest. I don't know when it started. Bald heads became popular among the wizards in the Five Rings Tower, and combat wizards are the hardest hit. If you go to the combat spellcasting class at this time, you will find a group of shiny bald heads. There is even a rumor that a bald head can increase the power of spells. This should be the place. A higher level wizard took out a sheepskin scroll that looked very old from his storage bag and said, according to the sheepskin notebook we found in the ruins, there was a city built by an ancient wizard here. But so many years have passed, I don't know how much is left in this city. Let's give it a try. Many things of the ancient wizards have been lost. If we can find them, it will be a huge leap for us. These people belong to the pioneering team of the Five Rings Tower. The underground secret realm covers a wide range, and many places still retain some relics. Come on. Dispel the fog here. The leading wizard Connor touched his shiny bald head. Be alert. This is a long way from our base, and the various monsters along the way are not weak. Don't capsize in the gutter. A low spell chanting sounded. with several wizards casting spells together. The fog in the hundreds of meters ahead quickly dissipated, and the darkness that seemed to swallow everything around gradually retreated. Soon everything around was exposed in front of the wizard. What's going on? There's nothing here. The surroundings were empty, without any man-made buildings, and even some ruins of broken walls were not found. Did we find the wrong place? Said a wizard. Impossible. We compared a lot of information and it's this location. Then why is there nothing, and there's not even a trace of ruins? Several academic wizards argued. As professional archaeologists, they have excavated many relics left by ancient wizards, and are very familiar with those ancient relics. Look around to see if there are any hidden secret doors. A wizard thought for a while and said, some wizards of the secret school like to hide their cities. They have encountered this situation in the previous excavation of relics. Hearing the words of this wizard, the eyes of other wizards lit up, and they quickly dispersed to look for secret doors around. Come on. A surprised voice sounded, and several other wizards hurried over. What did you find? The leading wizard walked over. Space crack. This is a hidden space crack. The hidden rune array around it has become dilapidated. It turns directly into dust with a slight touch. Several wizards looked at each other, their eyes revealing surprise. If it is hidden in a wizard city in an alternate dimension, it is very likely to be well preserved, and its value is simply inestimable. Back off, said the leading academic wizard, and then retreated a distance. It is unknown whether there will be any accidents after the space crack is opened. The space crack is not stable. With their strength, they will be injured if they are not careful. They don't want to see the treasure found and then have trouble. Then several wizards began to cast spells, trying to open this alternate dimension. There are many alternate dimensions around the main material plane. Under normal circumstances, these planes have no contact with the main world and are a pair of parallel lines. Only some accidents can connect two different worlds. This connection time is very short. The plane's own repair function will repair the space barrier again within a certain period of time, but some wizards also use these space cracks to turn them into a connection point. Then hide the wizard tower or city in the alternate dimension. As several wizards cast spells, the originally tiny space cracks began to glow, and a crack slowly opened. As the crack expanded, everyone saw a man-made passage appear here. Found it. It's here. Be careful, there may be danger inside. Wizard Connor stopped the academic wizards who wanted to go in. Whenever these academic wizards saw a relic, they wanted to rush in to check it out, without even looking at their own weak arms and legs. These academic wizards only passed the lowest level of combat spell casting. Once there was danger inside, facing an emergency, if there was a problem, he would be punished by the academy. You wait here now, Kate and I will go in first. Connor waved his hand, and said to another combat wizard, Andre, you stay outside to be on guard. It's not safe here. If Kate and I don't come out in 2 hours, you will close this place immediately and ask for help from the academy. Connor said to another wizard. For this kind of alien space that has been closed for who knows how long, it is not surprising that there are any strange things in it. For safety reasons, these things must be done well. After making the arrangements, Connor and Kate walked into the space channel carefully. Be careful. Connor walked out of the channel slowly, and then looked into the distance in a daze. Kate saw Connor standing still, and walked over with some doubts. The scene in front of him made him dazed in an instant. A group of buildings full of strange styles appeared not far away. All the buildings are pointed structures, which look mysterious and solemn from a distance. The color of the buildings is gray, and there are many patterns on them for decoration. The buildings are tall, and those patterns are not just decorations, but a large number of spell runes. A magnificent palace can be seen in the distance. These buildings are inlaid with a large number of crystal decorations, which look extremely luxurious. The towers and palaces built of huge stones are still well preserved after thousands of years. Even some runes have elemental energy flowing, and they are still working. What is this? A well-preserved ancient city. Connor and Kate looked at each other, ecstatic in their hearts. Although they were mentally prepared, they were still shocked when they saw it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo fanfic novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 Golem Legion. Let's go and have a look. Connor suppressed his excitement and said directly. The two approached the city cautiously. When they got closer, they found that the city was once glorious. The tall buildings used a lot of obsidian, and the walls were engraved with runes. There was a sense of oppression when they got closer. Tap, tap, tap. What's that sound? The two stopped immediately. With a heavy footstep, a team of obsidian golems appeared not far away, and there were also some iron golems among them. These golems had a strange weapon connected to their arms, and their eyes flashed with a faint red light. They rushed towards the two quickly. Found the invaders. Found the invaders. Destroy them. Several teams of obsidian golems advanced under the leadership of the iron golems. There were hundreds of them. The weapons of the golems in the team were different. It was completely the organization of the golem army. Some golems with long-range attack capabilities launched an attack directly. One by one, the cylinders flashing with spiritual light were aimed directly at the two people, and then bright rays were stimulated. It's the scorching ray. Get out of the way. Connor the wizard directly activated the energy shield, and then began to retreat. The two of them propped up the shield and quickly evacuated. The continuous scorching rays made the shield shake continuously, as if it would break directly if it came again. The attacks continued, and the two had no chance to breathe. These golem puppets divided the attacks into several waves. The two were attacked by more than a dozen golems at all times. The energy shield kept flashing, forcing the two to continuously inject magic power into it to maintain the energy shield. No, if this goes on, we will be exhausted to death by them before we leave the battle range. Kate, you hold on first. I'll interrupt their offensive. Connor the wizard shouted directly when he saw the endless attacks. Okay. Kate nodded, took out a bottle of magic potion directly, and drank it with his head tilted back. Soon a violent energy emanated from him. Earthquake. After seeing Kate ready, Connor waved his wand directly, and then smashed it hard on the ground, and a violent vibration suddenly appeared. The ground began to shake violently, and then it broke into countless rocks. The ground under the feet of the golem army not far away collapsed. The originally arranged formation became crooked, and some golems were pressed down by the rolling boulders, and could not move. The continuous attacks were interrupted in an instant, and the already shaky energy shield in Bentley stabilized. Connor's staff kept flashing with spiritual light. Cat's grace, bear's tenacity, bull's strength, elemental resistance, acceleration. A series of spells were quickly cast on him, and then he rushed up directly, and the staff in his hand smashed hard at an obsidian golem. Bang! With a loud bang, Connor's huge power directly sent the golem flying backwards. The 1-ton golem smashed the golem behind it that was about to crawl out. A crack on the body of the obsidian golem quickly expanded, and then it broke into a pile of rocks. Rockfall. There was a violent shaking, and the surrounding rocks kept shaking. Huge rocks kept rolling down, and more than a dozen golem puppets were directly crushed by the rocks. Although there was no damage, it would take a lot of time to climb out. The falling rocks soon piled up a small hill here, blocking the golem army behind. Let's go. Wizard Connor did not want to fight at all. He quickly joined Kate and said solemnly, let's go. Leave here first, and then notify the academy. This is not something we can solve alone. As the battle here spread, the city in the distance seemed to wake up, and teams of golems began to come to support. The two did not dare to stay any longer, and ran quickly towards the direction of the space channel. The wizards guarding the outside world were on guard around, but their eyes kept looking at the location of the space channel. Several wizards kept turning around in the space channel, muttering something. At this time, a sound of footsteps came, and then two figures ran out of the channel. Quick, close the channel. Connor shouted as soon as he came out. The two wizards did not dare to neglect, and quickly closed the space channel. Without the support of magic, the space channel shrank rapidly, and returned to its original state in a breath. Sir Connor, what happened inside? What did you find? Ivan, the wizard who had been waiting outside for a long time, grabbed Connor's hand and asked. A city built by ancient wizards. Connor said, panting. His expression was extremely excited. A city built by ancient wizards. Hearing Connor's words, Ivan's voice directly raised several tones, and his expression was even more excited than Connor. Is it a relic? Is the building well preserved? Is there anything else inside? It's not a relic, it's a complete city. There are also golems guarding it. Kate panted for a while and spoke directly. A well-preserved city, and there is a golem army. Quickly inform the academy. This is the first ancient wizard city that has been completely preserved so far. There may be various spell materials left by ancient wizards in it. Wizard Ivan turned around and said, Hakes, you go back to school directly and pass the news here as quickly as possible. Others come quickly. We will build a protective magic circle here and prepare to build a permanent base. This place must be in our hands no matter what. Quickly build a hidden magic circle to hide it and prevent it from being discovered by others. The underground secret realm is jointly occupied by several wizard organizations. It is an unexplored area. Search teams from other wizard organizations may come at any time. This city is still guarded by the golem army, so there must be tower spirits in the city, and the element can function normally, so the city's defense system is likely to still exist. I don't know why this city was abandoned in the first place. The value of a well-preserved city is immeasurable. Soon these wizards began to arrange rune arrays here, directly covering the surrounding area. With a flash of spiritual light, a barrier enveloped it, and everything around returned to peace. These wizards built a stronghold inside the barrier. The city is in this position, and cannot be moved. The Five Rings Tower needs to station a large number of wizards here, and the city needs to be excavated as soon as possible. Connor and his companions have seen hundreds of golems. There are probably thousands of golems in this city. It is not easy to get the city intact, and there is at least one tower spirit inside. Everyone is excited. They originally wanted to find the ruins of the city, but they didn't expect to win the jackpot. Thanks to Joe 157, a book friend, for the 500 starting coins reward. Chapter 366 Ancient City. Five Ring Tower. Allen was surrounded by various notebooks, and several quills were constantly writing and drawing. Allen quickly flipped through a notebook, and then picked up another one to read. Chip. Filter this knowledge, delete all repeated, wrong, and useless knowledge. A large amount of information quickly passed through Allen's eyes, and then stored it in different categories. Allen has been studying the element furnace during this period, and the notebooks of the Tower of Wisdom have been read a lot. However, there are many repeated and wrong knowledge in these notebooks. Allen asked the chip to reorganize and import them into his brain. Squeak. A light sound, and then a hurried footstep sounded. Allen frowned slightly. He didn't like to be disturbed when he was studying. Sir Allen, I'm sorry to disturb you. The dean has something important to do. Please go over. The administrator of the Tower of Wisdom said carefully. What's the matter? So urgent? Is there a legendary demon coming? Allen put down the notebook and looked up. I'm sorry, I don't know what the specific matter is, but the dean asked you to go as soon as possible. The administrator said respectfully. Okay, I got it. I'll go over right away. Allen put down the notebook and left the Tower of Wisdom. At the astrology observatory, when Allen arrived here, the 5 tower masters of the academy had all arrived, and there was also a second level wizard next to them. Sir Dean, what happened? Allen saw that several tower masters were confused and asked. Sir Allen, please sit down. I just received the news and summoned you all here. Something did happen, but it's a good thing. Alfred smiled mysteriously and said to the wizard next to him. Hakes, tell them what you know. Yes. Hakes stood up and gave a wizard salute, then said, I belong to the 3rd exploration team of the Five Rings Tower. Yesterday, our exploration team was looking for a relic in the underground secret realm. Unexpectedly, the city ruins were hidden in an alien plane. We found a well-preserved ancient city in a plane. Upon hearing this news, several tower masters around were stunned for a moment, and then asked with ecstasy, well-preserved ancient city, have you entered the city? Have you found any technology left by ancient wizards? Where is the space channel, where the city is located? Several tower masters who reacted asked a series of questions. The city is guarded by the Golem Legion. We can't enter. The coordinates of the space crack are X1758, Y9527. Hakes answered directly. Mr. Dean, I request to lead a team to explore immediately. This city is likely to bring us many lost ancient wizard technologies. Victor, the Tower Master of the Tower of Wisdom, stood up and said directly, "Sir, I want to go too. There must be a lot of alchemy left in the ancient wizard city. This is a great opportunity for our academy." Nicholas of the Alchemy Tower said excitedly. Allen was also very interested in the ancient wizard city. Although the ancient wizards did not build a floating city, their floating tower technology was still very complete. A well-preserved ancient city is very valuable for a search. Perhaps we can find lost technologies and spells. Don't worry, the city is there, and it won't run away. We need to prepare. The city needs to be excavated as soon as possible, but the safety of the academy cannot be ignored. Sir Allen, I would like to ask you to lead the team to explore the ancient city. Sir, I think I should lead the team. Victor, the wizard next to him, stood up and said. Although Sir Allen is also a third level wizard, he has advanced to the next level in a short time. Sir Victor, please sit down first. Alfred waved his hand and then said to Allen, I need to stay in the academy and cannot leave easily. The news that the ancient wizard city was found in the underground ruins is likely to attract the attention of other wizard organizations. I hope you can go to guard it for a while. Allen nodded and said, okay, I will pack up and leave. Seeing that Allen agreed, Alfred said to Victor, Wizard Victor, Sir Allen's strength is unquestionable. He is the second legendary wizard in the Five Rings Tower. Victor, who was originally dissatisfied, was stunned when he heard Alfred's words. Sir Dean, what did you say? Sir Allen has already advanced to the legendary level? Victor looked at Allen with a look of loss of composure. Allen smiled and nodded. The other tower masters also looked unbelievable. How old is he? Looking at Allen's young appearance, a group of wizards who were more than 100 or 200 years old felt that they were living like dogs. They spent so much time and only became level 3 wizards. As for the legend, they have not found their own way. Soon, the high-level wizards in the academy began to gather. Victor, the master of the Tower of Wisdom, and Nicholas, the master of the Tower of Alchemy, were ready early. The other two masters stayed in the academy. Nearly 100 people from the Five Rings Tower followed Allen, but no one knew what they were going to do, except the two masters. Time is urgent. I won't say much. I will tell you after we arrive at the location of this mission. Now follow me to the teleportation array. We will go to the underground secret realm. Soon everyone took the teleportation array directly to the underground secret realm. Allen and his group did not stop. Under the leadership of Wizard Hakes, they quickly rushed towards the direction of the ancient city. They encountered many underground creatures along the way, but facing a team of more than 100 wizards, the lowest of which was level 2, they were directly pushed all the way. After spending half a day, the group arrived at this dark area. The wizard who had been waiting here for a long time hurriedly came to meet them. Now let's build a teleportation array here, and a permanent base. Allen came to this simple camp, and gave a direct order. A group of wizards took out various instruments, and began to test them, then built a teleportation array, and another group of wizards took out building materials to build a base. Other wizards began to arrange rune arrays, and everything was going on in an orderly manner. Send a team of wizards to search the surrounding environment, confirm that there are no other wizards here, and clean up the surrounding demonized beasts. A team of combat wizards set off quickly. After Allen assigned the tasks, they came to a temporary room, and began to understand the specific information of this ruined city. As time went on, the entire camp was quickly improved, and other combat wizards were sent out to clean up. The news soon came that they were lucky, and no traces of other humans were found here. Chapter 367 Ancient City 2. 2 days later, the wizards of the Five Rings Tower had built a permanent base covering an area of tens of thousands of square meters. With the joint efforts of hundreds of wizards, one magical building after another rose from the ground. These wizards were very skilled in the two spells of turning stone into mud and mud into stone, and they also added hardening magic at some key points. The residential area has also been completed, so there is no need to live in magic tents anymore. Reconnaissance arrays and some constructed golems have been placed around the station for guarding. Wizard Connor, you stay here. I'll go in and take a look alone. Allen came to the space crack and said, Sir Allen, be careful. There is a legion of golems inside. The last time we encountered obsidian golems and steel golems, we don't know if there are more advanced golems inside. Allen nodded to show that he understood, then took out the staff and waved it gently, and the space crack opened silently. Allen did not hesitate and stepped directly into the passage. After entering the passage, Allen turned on the scanning function of the chip to the maximum. An invisible light wave spread rapidly, and then a large amount of data was fed back to Allen's mind. Strong negative energy reaction was scanned. Abnormal space-time fluctuations were scanned. Constructed life was scanned. Undead life was scanned. Large force field energy shield was scanned. Danger level, extremely high. It is recommended that the host stay away as soon as possible. The cold mechanical sound of the chip kept prompting in his mind, and a map appeared in front of Allen. The place with the highest energy reaction was in the center of the city. The whole city was covered by a huge energy force field, and the chip could not scan what was inside. Is this a maze? Seeing the large energy protection barrier covering the entire city, a term popped up in Allen's mind. Allen first knew about the maze in the collection of Banda, the mentor of the Tebas world. The maze was born in the Thorium Age. The early floating cities did not have the ability to live in the astral world for a long time, and could only move in the main material plane. At that time, the floating cities did not load the maze, but the protective barrier. It was not until the late Thorium Age that the first maze was born. The mystery lock combines many functions such as attack, defense, and strategic strike. It can be said to be one of the most brilliant achievements of the arcane civilization. In the following time, the mystery lock became the standard configuration of the floating city. It is the first defense mechanism of the floating city. The Arcane Council of the Tebas world also does not have complete mystery lock data. The arcane city they built did not load the mystery lock, but use large-scale energy barrier technology. Even if the energy problem is solved, this floating city cannot enter the Star Realm for a long time. The city in front of him is protected by the mystery lock. Many of Allen's methods cannot be used. If he is not careful, he will trigger the defense mechanism of the mystery lock. This thing belongs to the strategic level. Who knows if a super energy particle magic cannon will directly hit it. Chip. Scan the coverage of the mystery lock. As an invisible light wave spread, more data came, and the mechanical prompt sounded. Scan completed. The current mystery lock covers an area of about 60 square kilometers. 60 square kilometers. The city is not big, but this should be the standard size of the floating city in the Thorium Age. Allen looked at the data and kept calculating in his mind. The population density of a city changes with productivity. The population density of medieval cities was very low. Due to transportation and productivity issues, cities could not afford to gather a large number of people, and they needed to transport a large amount of food from other places. The population of cities in the wizarding world rarely exceeds 100,000 people. The main reason is food transportation, so those big cities are mostly built in areas with convenient transportation such as rivers. The population density of modern cities is exaggerated. For example, the population density in the central area of Magic City has reached 30,000 to 50,000 people square kilometer. All the living materials of so many people need to be transported from outside. According to the modern technology level, the population density of 3,000 to 4,000 people square kilometer is more appropriate. Because floating cities need to travel in the astral world, they must be self-sufficient and can produce all living materials by themselves, so the population density cannot be too high. From the Silver Age to the Arcane Empire, the population density of floating cities has increased to a certain extent because of the progress of arcane power. The standard of the Silver Age is 1,300 square kilometer. According to this standard, the city in front of us can accommodate about 30,000 to 50,000 people for long-term residence. Although the area covered by the maze is 60 square kilometers, the area of the city is 50 square kilometers, which is the standard of floating cities in the Silver Age. In this city, the maze is still running, the Golem army is still active, and the energy system of this city is still maintained by someone, but Allen did not scan the existence of flesh and blood life, so it is very likely that the tower spirit is still running here, or there are lives that have been transformed into undead. powerful lives can retain most of their memories after being transformed into undead, and liches can even retain more than 90% of their memories, while more low-level undead will lose most of their memories, or even have no memories of their previous lives. The vast majority of people in this ancient city should be low-level undead, and the possibility of earthbound spirits is the highest. Allen has checked that there is only one exit here. The undead in the city are trapped inside and have a high probability of being transformed into earthbound spirits after dying. Some earthbound spirits will even repeat their activities in their previous lives. Those thousands of times of repetitive work have been deeply ingrained in the depths of their souls. After circling the city from a distance, Allen did not approach. There are some buildings on the outskirts of the city that have become ruins, which seem to belong to the outer buildings of the ancient city. There are teams of puppet golems patrolling on the edge of the city, and the whole city seems to be still functioning normally. After leaving this alien space, Allen returned to the camp. Connor, Victor, Nicholas and Ivan had been waiting here for a long time. Except for the wizards on guard outside, other wizards were also waiting outside the door. This ancient city is well preserved, with an area of 50 square kilometers. There are large mazes protecting the periphery, and the mazes are still functioning normally. I suspect that the ancient wizards built it according to the floating city. Allen directly stated his guess. Maze. Floating city. Hearing Allen's words, Victor and Nicholas widened their eyes instantly and pulled Allen excitedly and said, "Sir Allen, are you sure? It's a floating city." Wizard Victor, please calm down. Allen rolled his eyes and pulled his arm back with force. He was very resistant to being grabbed by an old man. "You are not a fierce lolly, don't touch me." Chapter 368 Ancient City 3. Sorry. Seeing Allen's eyes, Victor withdrew his hand awkwardly. "I'm not sure if it's a floating city, but this city is designed and built according to the floating city." Allen continued. "The city has a maze protection, a golem army, and a population of 30,000 to 50,000 people. These are the same as the configuration of the floating city recorded in the literature. The city is still functioning normally now, and there is a high probability that there are tower spirits in it. I found the breath of the undead in the space. It is very likely that there are undead creatures. It is very difficult to enter this city. There is a wizard tower in the middle of the city. As for whether there is a super energy particle magic cannon on it, it is not confirmed. If there is such a big killer, the number of people we send must be limited. The defense mechanism of the tower spirit will directly start a strategic strike when the invader's strength reaches a certain level. I don't think anyone wants to try the taste of being attacked by a magic railgun." Allen snapped his fingers, and a flash of light flashed, and a huge sand table phantom appeared in the air. In the middle of the sand table was the phantom of a city, but many areas of the city were in a blurry state. This was because of the existence of the maze, and Allen could not scan it clearly. Allen drew a circle on an area, and then said, "There are the least number of golems and puppets stationed here, and the surrounding buildings are also seriously damaged. This should not be an important location, and the danger is far lower than other places. We need to test it. In addition, don't go deep. You know the power of the maze without me telling you. Don't joke with your life. Although higher level wizards are already very strong, they will die instantly if they are not careful when facing things of the level of maze." Once again entering the alien space, the number of people reached 50, and they were divided into 4 teams. Each team was assigned a different task. Allen led one of the teams to the edge of the maze. The range of the maze is in front. Be careful. It's best not to alarm the tower spirit. Advanced camouflage. Advanced invisibility. Advanced anti-detection aura. As the auras rose one after another, the wizards cast hiding spells and then carefully entered the ruins. The ruins are on the outskirts of the city, and there are no golems and puppets around. Allen's expression was serious, and he did not dare to relax his vigilance at all. Although the value of this city left by ancient wizards is inestimable, the degree of danger is also the highest. Walking into the ruins, he gently pushed open a wooden door. There was thick dust inside. The furniture inside had decayed. There were many broken pottery jars on the ground. Nothing valuable was found. This should be the residence of civilians. Creak. In a quiet environment, any movement would become very clear. Allen also heard the source, which came from under the soil in front. under the soil. At the same time, a breath of undead suddenly appeared. Everyone be careful, there are undead here, Allen warned directly. Skeleton undead. The ground quickly raised mounds, and then the mounds broke open and skeletons crawled out from them. Allen's face was a little solemn. The undead in front of him were not the low-level undead. Their height reached more than 2 meters. Their bones were not grey and white like the low-level undead but black. Many bones had mutated and flashed with metallic luster. The position of the arm has become a sharp bone knife, and the red soul fire is beating in the empty eye sockets. This is a group of dangerous undead creatures. If this skeleton evolves again, it will become a bone demon, a powerful undead creature, and also the most common advanced form of low-level undead skeletons. Allen has many ways to deal with the undead. After all, his mentor is a high-level lich. After he got the black scripture of the undead and the golden scripture of the sun, the spells on them have extraordinary effects on the undead. A tongue-twisting ancient Egyptian language was chanted by Allen, and then a flash of light flashed. The skeletons of the undead that had already gathered around were swept by this light, and their bodies stiffened directly. The tall skeletons were instantly scattered all over the ground. All the soul fires were all dispersed, and the phantoms of the souls slowly emerged and returned to their appearance before death. These people looked like barbarians. After bowing to Allen, they began to dissipate. A gust of cold wind blew and all the souls disappeared. They were sent into the sticks by Allen. Simply clean up the battlefield. There is nothing except a pile of bones. Allen is not interested in these skeletons, but some wizards have collected these skeletons, and it seems that they are going to take them back for a search. After sweeping away the undead around, everyone began to search in the ruins. Although this is not the place where wizards live, they can live in this place. The relationship between them and wizards is not ordinary. Allen casually pushed open another door, went in and looked around, but didn't find anything. Just when Allen was about to leave, the chip suddenly marked a place on the wall. Secret compartment. When he got closer, he saw that this place was indeed a little different from the surroundings. Then he reached out and knocked on the wall, and there was a hollow sound from inside. Allen exerted force with his palm and directly crushed the wall. A secret compartment appeared, and a beautifully made box was placed inside. This kind of relic has existed for thousands of years. Don't think about looking for any mechanism. Time is enough to make most mechanisms lose their function. Many times you find the mechanism, but the connection device inside has long been decayed and cannot be used at all. Violent demolition is a good way. For example, the keyhole of the metal box in front of you has been rusted, and you can't open it, even if you find the key. The correct operation is to split it with a knife. With a flash of inspiration, a silver white rune carving knife appeared in Allen's hand. Violent demolition is also a technology. You can't just open the mechanism without caring about the things inside. The best violent demolition is to open it as quickly as possible without destroying the things inside. And in exploration, mastering violent demolition is a very important thing. Aiming at the gap of the box, he applied force with his fingers and cut the connection with a light stroke of the carving knife. Then he put the box on the ground. Many wizards like to leave some curses, spells, traps and other insidious things in the box. Who knows if the box will explode or produce strong acid or poison gas when it is opened. So it is better to be careful at this time. He summoned the wizard's hand directly. Allen manipulated the wizard's hand to open the box. As soon as the box was opened, a green acid arrow shot at the wall. Allen looked at it expressionlessly and then manipulated the wizard's hand to take out the things in the box. A dried crystal bottle, a magic gem the size of a pigeon egg, an emerald stone and a ruby. The quality is not bad. Chapter 369 Ancient City. 4. 2 magic gems of good quality. Allen observed and put them away directly. The crystal bottle was empty, with only some expired potion residues at the bottom. This kind of crystal bottle has a general preservation effect. If the bottle is not preserved with a constant spell, it can only be preserved for about 20 years at most. If a special crystal bottle with a constant spell is used, it can be preserved for thousands of years without deterioration. However, few people do this. Such precious potions are usually used up soon. Allen threw away the crystal bottle and left the room directly. Others outside were also searching in the ruins. The nearby buildings were connected together, with about hundreds of rooms, and there was still a breath of death around that had not completely dissipated. After searching here, everyone had more or less gained something. After finding nothing else, the group continued to go deeper. When Allen walked to the periphery of the building, there was a large open space here, separated by a wall. Many runes were engraved on the wall, but now it was incomplete and ineffective. After walking along the wall for a while, they found the entrance door and entered carefully. Unexpectedly, it looked like a farm. It was divided into many large and small feeding rooms. Each feeding room was covered with glass covers. These covers had completely lost their effect. There were many skeletons in the covers. Some looked like snakes, but they were huge and had wings. There were also many skeletons of cattle and sheep. However, unlike ordinary cattle and sheep skeletons, these skeletons were obviously much larger, and there was a slight elemental smell on them. In the middle area, Allen even found some beastmen. Beastmen were different from orcs. Beastmen were closer to humans, but some parts of their bodies were similar to beasts. In comparison, orcs were closer to wild beasts. It was said that the appearance of beastmen was not naturally bred, but was the result of some evil experiments. The genetic technology and biotechnology of ancient wizards were extremely powerful. Now many magic objects are said to be the masterpieces of those ancient wizards. For various reasons, ancient wizards created a large number of new species. Some species gradually died out because they were not adapted to the environment, but some adapted to the environment and survived well, and multiplied and grew. Wizards also need many slaves to serve them. Ordinary humans have short lives and insufficient strength. Many jobs in the wizard tower are not up to the task. Some wizards began to create some wizard servants according to their needs. Beastmen were born in this situation and became popular. Some wizards with special hobbies created cat women, leopard women, snake women, etc. This should be the place where wizards conduct transformation experiments, and the demonized creatures such as cattle and sheep on the periphery are likely to provide meat for the city. Wizards who are capable of doing this are very powerful. The wizards in this city are at least legendary, and they are likely to be high-level legendary. The combination of floating cities, golem legions, and high-level legendary wizards can already kill some not very strong indigenous gods. Be vigilant. The strength of this city may be beyond our expectations, Allen said in a deep voice, after observing these skeletons. After checking here, Allen and others came to the most conspicuous building in the farm. This is obviously the office area of the entire factory. There is also a huge flower bed at the door of this 3-story building, in which many demonized plants are planted. These plants are fixed in one area and grow. There is also a fountain in the middle of the flower bed. The fountain has a beautiful shape, and in the middle is a statue of a mermaid. The water in the pool has dried up, and it is full of dead branches and leaves. Allen scanned and found that there is an energy pipeline underneath, but it has been damaged due to years of disrepair. Ancient wizards advocated luxury. The cost of this flower bed fountain is hundreds of magic stones, and its function is only for beauty. By passing the flower bed fountain and entering the building in front of you, this is the outskirts of the city, but you have entered the maze, and the surroundings have begun to be shrouded in fog. The operation of the maze requires huge energy. The maze in this city has been running for thousands of years. Even with the maintenance of the tower spirit, there are many problems now. Allen has clearly felt that the energy in the maze is somewhat insufficient. The maze has been selectively abandoned in these peripheral areas. However, Allen did not take it lightly. As a wizard, Allen is very clear about the protection of wizards for their own residences. There must be countless traps of all sizes around this floating city, either mechanical traps or magic traps, or even a combination of the two. Although many of these traps have lost their function after the baptism of time, it is hard to guarantee that some of them are still playing a residual heat. After tapping the floor gently, a stream of energy spread out from Allen. As the energy spread, it obviously touched some residual other energy. However, after the baptism of time, these spell traps have reached the edge of collapse. The energy swept across, and after only a few flashes, it turned directly into a little light and dissipated. Allen led other wizards into the building carefully. The main body of the house was still intact. It can be seen that the decoration here was very luxurious at the beginning. The things in the house were a little messy, and it looked like a riot had occurred at the beginning. Collect the useful things, check carefully if there are any secret compartments and secret rooms, and don't do anything if you are not sure about it. Notify me as soon as possible. Allen looked here and did not find anything unusual and directly instructed the wizard behind him. Everyone immediately dispersed and began to look for things in the house. Allen gave himself an energy shield and then began to search upstairs. The decoration upstairs was more luxurious than that downstairs. Allen found that the furniture here was actually made of magic trees. These trees in the Five Rings Tower are generally the materials for wizard apprentices to make wands. I didn't expect that ancient wizards would use them to make furniture. Although these materials have not decayed after thousands of years, the elemental energy inside has completely dissipated and has no use value. Pushing open a door that has not decayed yet, a gust of dust was stirred. It has been a long time since anyone came in. The dust was at least an inch thick. Allen snapped his fingers, and all the dust gathered into a spherical object under the traction of an invisible force. The room is not big. There are some portraits hanging on the wall, but now they are not clear. In the middle of the room is a luxurious table. Opposite is a chair with a backrest, and a skeleton sitting on the chair with a backrest. The skeleton is stronger than a normal human. Chapter 370 Ancient City 5. Allen took a quick glance and went directly to the desk to look for something valuable. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as he approached the desk, a cold wind suddenly blew in the originally quiet room, and a strong smell of death suddenly appeared here, followed by an unpleasant laugh. Allen frowned, and a flash of light flashed in the staff in his hand. Protect against evil. With such a strong smell of death, Allen knew without guessing that there were undead spirits, and they were probably earthbound spirits. As a kind of undead, earthbound spirits are somewhat special. Unlike other evil spirits that can wander around, they cannot leave the area of death after death for various reasons. This kind of earthbound spirit has a deep obsession. They usually hide in the spirit world and sleep, and will only wake up when someone approaches. Earthbound spirits are relatively advanced evil spirits, second only to banshees. Because they are in a spirit state, they are immune to most physical attacks. Their attack method belongs to spirit attack, ignoring physical defense and directly attacking the soul. Hehe. The piercing laughter echoed in the room. The temperature in the room began to drop significantly. A chill that penetrated deep into the soul appeared. If you open the spiritual eye spell, you will find that there is a faint golden light around Allen's body, which directly dispels the negative energy around. This is the divinity that has been integrated into his soul. The earthbound spirit did not appear immediately, but began to affect Allen's vision. A mist rose around him, and the door of the room disappeared. Allen watched the performance of the earthbound spirit expressionlessly. He was not disturbed by these illusions, because he had a real vision. Detect the undead. A spiritual light spread quickly, covering the whole house, and then a dark red shadow appeared in the corner of the wall. Found you. The moment he saw the spirit, another spiritual light shot out from Allen's staff. Undead creature immobilization spell. The spiritual light instantly hit the evil spirit, and a red light instantly burst out from it, directly offsetting Allen's spell. Then he rushed towards Allen with a fierce momentum. Profane aura, the blasphemous aura on the evil spirit suddenly increased, and the whole room was enveloped in it. Low-level wizards would be seriously disturbed when casting spells in this aura, and the power level was shockingly low. However, the aura collapsed directly when it touched Allen. Soul shock. Seeing that the undead immobilization spell failed, Allen raised his hand and threw another spell. The body of the evil spirit that had pounced on him was directly stiffened in place, and the translucent body shook for a while, and some parts had already dissipated. The body of the earthbound spirit was stiff in place, and Allen did not hesitate to throw out another aura. Soul imprisonment spell. The evil spirit that was stiff in place was directly pulled into a gem. Then a gem that was shining with purple light fell into Allen's hand. It only needed to remove the residual soul inside, and it would be a soul crystal of good quality. However, this earthbound spirit is still useful. Because of the deep resentment of the earthbound spirit, there are many memories of his previous life in his residual soul. Although most of them are fragments, it is still very helpful for Allen to understand this place. These memories are usually hidden deep in the soul and will gradually dissipate over time. After thousands of years of closure, there are very few memories left. If Allen wants to awaken his memory, he needs to find something familiar to him during his lifetime. The more familiar, the better. The skeleton in front of him should be the earthbound spirit. Allen found a seafoam pipe next to the skeleton. Although it has been thousands of years, the pipe is still intact. In fact, wizards' research on souls is far inferior to that of demons. Those demons living in Beta Hell are good at playing with souls. They even dare to run to the sticks to steal souls. In the multiverse, souls are hard currency. Allen picked up the pipe and began to cast spells quickly. Allen rarely cast this kind of spell. There are many abyssal words in the spell. It took Allen more than 10 seconds to finish the spell. As the spell was cast, the earthbound spirit gradually faded from blood color and turned into a grey translucent soul phantom. Allen lightly tapped it, and a ray of light hit the pipe, and then the light merged into the translucent soul. The shadow of the soul gradually solidified. It was a tall old man with a dull look and no reaction. Allen frowned slightly. Have all the memories been erased? No. Master, don't give up on me. Let me out. Master, where have you been? Come out soon. Just when Allen was puzzled, the soul in front of him was terrified and kept shouting and crying. This should be the deepest memory of his soul and the memory before death. After a while, the earthbound spirit returned to a dull state again. Allen knew that this was the only memory left. Thousands of years have made him forget most of his memories. Who are you? Allen tried to communicate with this soul, but this soul did not respond. Who is the master? Allen continued to ask. Hearing the name of the master, the soul in front of him trembled slightly, looked over with dull eyes, and then returned to its original appearance. I even forgot my name. Allen frowned. Then he picked up the pipe and found some tobacco from the dimensional space and lit it. The blue smoke slowly rose. Allen snapped his fingers and the smoke slowly floated towards the soul. As the smoke enveloped, the soul finally moved. He was intoxicated by the aroma of tobacco, and his eyes became less dull. Allen's expression moved slightly. The master needs you to go over. Hearing Allen's words, the soul finally reacted, walked to the side of the table, reached out and picked up something, and then began to sort it out. In fact, the things on the table had long been rotten, and he had nothing in his hands. As a servant of the wizard, everything they do is to serve the wizard. The soul in front of him has forgotten his name, but he still remembers his master. It can be imagined how much weight the master has in his life. This seems to have become an instinct for him. Even if he has no memory, this instinct will still be imprinted in the depths of his soul. After sorting it out, the soul stood up again and began to walk out. This building is located on the outskirts of the wizard tower. This soul should often visit the master. He has the authority to pass through the maze, and he takes a safe route. Allen followed him directly. The soul did not go through the main door, but went down another staircase, and then walked directly towards the city. Chapter 371 Ancient City 6. Allen said hello to the others and quickly followed. The soul walked fast and slow, and stopped from time to time. Allen followed closely behind, constantly observing the surrounding environment and ready to fight at any time. It seemed to be a small road with some flowers and plants planted around it. There were some ruined buildings in the distance, and there were obsidian puppets patrolling in the distance. These loyal guards still guarded the city even after thousands of years. There were not many obsidian golems patrolling on this small road. Allen easily avoided the patrol of these golems. The soul in front of him walked into the city unimpeded. The city was empty, without a single figure. Allen felt the strong breath of the dead here. In this environment, even ordinary people will turn into undead after a long time of death. Allen knew in his heart that there might be a large number of sleeping undead here. The residual soul did not stop, crossed the street, the garden, and then came to a square. Opposite the square was a wizard tower towering into the sky. In the center of the square, there stood a statue of a spellcaster. The statue was about 30 meters tall. He was wearing a gorgeous robe, holding a book in one hand and a staff in the other, looking into the distance. The wizard tower was made of obsidian, with a large number of runes engraved on it, and a stream of energy was running through it. On the top of the wizard tower, a lightning rod-like object stood, emitting a silver-white light, which was the unique color of mithril. Allen was very familiar with this thing. There was also a similar thing on the top of his wizard tower. It was an intact super energy particle magic cannon. After restraining his breath again, Allen approached cautiously. He knew the power of this thing very well. With his strength and the artifact in his hand, it was not difficult to block a shot, although it was a little embarrassing. However, once he was discovered in the maze, the operation of the maze would be restricted, and he would be in big trouble. The remnant soul did not walk through the square, but went around the side of the square, then approached the wizard tower and headed directly towards the side door. A red light above the gate shone directly on the remnant soul. Allen's mind moved, and his body retreated immediately. Soul scan. A cold mechanical voice sounded. A broken soul was found, with a record of soul imprints. The authority level is level 2. According to the combat readiness regulations, those with combat readiness status lower than level 5 are prohibited from entering. Please stay away immediately. Please stay away immediately. The remnant soul ignored those voices, and continued to move forward to the wizard tower. Level 2 authority. You have entered the warning area now. Please stay away immediately. Stay away immediately. Seeing that the remnant soul was still approaching, the mechanical voice reminded again. However, the remnant soul had no intention of stopping. According to the instructions of the warning regulations, anyone who does not reach level 5 authority will be regarded as an intruder if he approaches during the warning period. Tower Spirit number 3 takes over the command. Constructed Golem activated. The target is a soul body. The danger level is level 3. Activate the Guardian Golem. The Guardian Golem is fully charged. Kill and expel the intruder. A series of mechanical sounds rang out in the empty city, and Allen restrained his breath without any movement. He stared at the position of the remnant soul without blinking. A faint light seemed to flash across the top of the wizard tower, and an invisible light wave swept past. Then the side door of the wizard tower opened instantly, and heavy footsteps sounded. 2 tall figures walked out. Seeing these 2 figures, Allen's eyes suddenly shrank. A diamond demon that was about 4 meters tall and weighed 2 tons walked out. Allen's eyes slightly raised, and he didn't care about the remnant soul anymore, and went back along the original path. If there were 2 diamond golems in other places, Allen would have at least 10 ways to deal with them, but in this environment, if he dared to show up, he would definitely be the one in trouble. MMP's diamonds are normally regarded as the top defense of the wizard tower. This wizard tower actually took out this big killer first to fight. You don't play by the rules. Damn it. What on earth are these ancient wizards going to do? Allen began to walk back in a depressed mood. As a wave of energy came, the wizard tower once again returned to calm. Back to the ruins again. It has been collected by other wizards. It's getting late. Let's stop here today. Let's go back first. As the light dimmed, some mist gradually rose around, and the smell of death became stronger. The wizards packed up their things and left along the way they came. Once again, they returned to the camp. The other 3 teams had not returned yet. After waiting for another half an hour, they returned to the camp one after another. Judging from their expressions, the harvest should be good. Allen called Wizard Virgildo, Wizard Nicholas and Wizard Connor into the house, closed the door casually and said, "Today I found a way to avoid patrolling golems, and entered the city to check. Contrary to my expectations, the owner of this city is likely to be higher than the high-level legend. When I tried to enter the wizard tower, I found the guards inside. There are 2 diamond golems on the first floor alone." Diamond golem. Hearing Allen's words, these wizards were shocked. The first floor of the wizard tower is a diamond golem, so are there arcane guards behind it, or even the legendary magic armor? Seeing Allen nod, everyone was also a little bit jealous. "Sir Allen, do you have any ideas?" Nicholas looked up and asked. Allen glanced at him, then said hesitantly, "The city's defense still has loopholes, and there are no humans in the city, only the tower spirit is still running. If the tower spirit can be shut down, or the core energy device of the maze can be removed, the city will lose its protection. At that time, both the golem army and the wizard tower will be in our pocket. Sir Allen, what do we need to do?" Victor asked directly after hearing Allen's words. The inside of the maze is very dangerous. Although the city has been running for thousands of years, the internal energy is insufficient, but its power is still strong. If you don't have a legendary level, you will die. You can't help. Allen shook his head and continued. But you can help me attract some attention, and it's best to attract the attention of the tower spirit. But pay attention, there is also this magic particle orbital cannon on the wizard tower. You know that thing, even if I don't tell you. Allen snapped his fingers, and a shadow appeared, which was the model of the interior of this ancient city. There were many red dots marked on it, and those places were where a large number of golems patrolled. There were also many red lines, which were the specific routes for the golems to patrol. The most valuable things in this city are in the wizard tower, which is the library, the town hall and the barracks. Don't go to these places, there are a lot of golems inside. Thanks to the book friend who is reading the book, but doesn't make any noise for the 200 starting coins reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372 Ancient City 7. We need to formulate a strict plan, including a plan for escaping in case of bad situations. Once any link has problems, we can ensure the greatest safety. Allen looked at everyone and continued. The situation here needs to be notified to Sir Alfred, but I suggest that Sir William Oak also participate. A legendary archdruid will be of great help to our plan. Sir Allen, do we really need to invite Sir William Oak? Nicholas said hesitantly. Yeah. Allen nodded. In that case, I agree. Nicholas hesitated for a moment and nodded. I agree too. Agree. Seeing that others nodded, Allen took out a communication crystal and contacted Alfred, and then informed Alfred of his suggestion. Alfred was mentally prepared for the difficulty of the ancient city. After learning about the strength of the ancient city, he nodded and agreed. Sir Allen, Sir William has been to several other wizard organizations during this period. He should be in the Goth Institute in the west now. Please wait patiently for 2 days. I will send someone to invite Sir William back. Allen nodded to show his understanding. Then he closed the communication crystal. In the next 2 days, some wizards of the Five Rings Tower began to build camps, while others went to the periphery to test the defense power of the ancient city. In a few days, the station has changed a lot. The wizards built flat streets, and an energy barrier enveloped the entire station. The supply area, repair area, and living area were also divided out. The teleportation array was also built, and the supplies of the Five Rings Tower were also delivered through the teleportation array, and there were even some golem puppets. Various potions and scrolls were also distributed in batches. It seems that for this ancient city, the Five Rings Tower is ready to bleed heavily. A few days later, the dusty Sir William came to the base. As soon as he arrived here, William found Allen, and then grabbed Allen and said excitedly, "Have you found a floating city that is still in operation? Where is it? Take me there quickly." Allen rolled his eyes, pulled his arm back and said, "It's just a suspected floating city. We are not sure, and there are still puzzle locks outside the city now. It is difficult to take it down." "Didn't you say that there is a plan? I came back to help this time, so let's proceed according to the plan," William said indifferently. "Don't worry, the city is there. It won't run away. We need to further improve the plan." Allen snapped his fingers. A sand table appeared out of thin air. "This is the city map we got. This is the wizard tower, the control center of the entire city. This is the library, and this is the military camp." Allen pointed to the sand table and introduced. "This city has strong defenses, with a legion of golems, and the magic particle orbital cannon on the wizard tower is intact. Once we launch a strong attack, it is very likely that the tower spirit's defense mechanism will be directly triggered, and he will directly launch a strategic strike. That level of attack is very dangerous. And there are too many golem puppets in the city. It will take us not only a lot of time to clean them up, but also a lot of manpower. Time does not allow the Five Rings Tower to transfer most of its manpower here. Demons appear from time to time in various places, and those black wizards will definitely come to rob once they find this place. At that time, it is likely to trigger a wizard war. We must cut the Gordian knot and get the biggest benefit. The rest can be done slowly." Seeing that everyone agreed, Allen continued this time. "Our plan is that I will go deep into the wizard tower to shut down the tower spirit, or dismantle the energy center of the maze, and forcibly shut down the city's defense system. For safety reasons, we can't use too many people this time. We also need to make an escape crystal. After discovering the danger, directly start to get rid of the maze. Leave these to the alchemy tower to complete as soon as possible. You need to attract the attention of the tower spirit according to my plan, and leave the rest to me. Well, Sir Allen, I will do my best to complete it. William nodded in agreement. Everyone else go get ready. We will go directly tomorrow. Allen made the decision directly. After the discussion, Allen returned to his residence, took off the ring on his hand, took out some mithril from the dimensional space, and then took out a carving knife to carve on it. He was going to cast an exile spell on the ring. In the past, he was not strong enough, and had no choice. After advancing to the legend, he revitalized the guardian ring. As time went by, after spending a lot of rare materials, Allen successfully upgraded the ring. In addition to the previous effects, this ring can cast the exile spell 3 times a day. With this spell, it is very practical, whether it is to trap the enemy or to dodge. The next morning, everyone in the Five Rings Tower came to the ruined city again. Allen took William to go in from the small path, and the others began to disperse around the city. Because the magic particle orbital cannon can only fire one shot at a time, it is necessary to separate everyone to prevent the tower spirit from seeing many people gathered together and directly using strategic strikes. Although the magic particle railgun is powerful, it is not so extravagant as to use a cannon to kill a mosquito. Although the tower spirit has a good wisdom, the wizard has used many rules and regulations to restrict it. The other people in the Five Rings Tower have not reached the legendary level. One person alone will not trigger the tower spirit's strategic strike. It will only send the golem army to attack. At the same time, taking action in multiple locations will divide the power of the golem army. The tower spirit's attention will also be constantly divided, so Allen has the opportunity to sneak in. Outside the ancient city, Allen turned on the scanning function of the chip, and then began to invade with the wisdom of others. Sir Victor, you go to attack here, don't go deep, attract this team of golems. Sir Nicholas, you enter from here, there is a team of stone golems there. Allen began to command everyone to invade. As the wizards entered the city, teams of golems began to attack continuously. A ray of light rose on the wizard tower. Allen stared at the magic particle railgun. Once there was a sign of firing, he was ready to take action immediately. Fortunately, after a few minutes, the magic particle railgun did not have any energy gathering phenomenon. Allen heaved a sigh of relief and began to move. He brought William and the others to the city quickly. Along the way, many golems and puppets were attracted to the periphery. This time, the speed was much faster than before. They passed through the streets and gardens and came to the square. Soon they arrived near the wizard tower. Allen took out his staff and a spiritual light rose. The next moment, the elemental channel opened. Summon the fire element. A group of large fire element were summoned directly. With the appearance of the fire element, the wizard tower quickly reacted. Intruders found. The number of intruders is 8. The threat level is level 3, and the diamond golems are activated. Tower spirit number 3 takes over the battle. With the cold mechanical sound, the 2 diamond golems were quickly activated, and Allen suppressed the attack of the fire element. Advanced invisibility. Advanced force field protection. Advanced acceleration. Several spiritual lights rose in succession, and Allen and William moved towards the wizard tower. Exile exclamation point quote asterisk 2. 2 consecutive spiritual lights rose, and the diamond golem that had just cleared the fire element was directly hit, and then disappeared instantly. Chapter 373 Ancient City 8. Seeing that the banishment spell was successful, Allen rushed to the wizard tower without any hesitation. The banishment spell had a limited time. If he didn't leave quickly, the 2 diamond golems would soon return from the space crack. Activate the advanced spell sequence. Advanced mage armor. Dragon scale leather armor. Advanced cat grace. Advanced bear toughness. Advanced bull strength. Advanced acceleration spell. Giant strength spell. Dragon vein transformation. Allen instantly activated all the spells he had blessed, turned into a half dragon, and then rushed into the tower at high speed. Advanced spell removal. The wizard tower was covered with a layer of protective barrier. Allen directly used the spell removal. With a light bang, the protective barrier was directly broken. Although this antique that had existed for thousands of years could still function, it had reached its limit. The staff in his hand waved and smashed fiercely at the magic construct puppet that was really activated at the door. The head of this construct was golden and seemed to be mixed with fine gold. There were 2 golden gems in the eye sockets, and a large number of silver runes were engraved on the body. This kind of specially customized construct puppet was at least legendary. With a loud bang, the construct puppet was directly pulled out. Then it mashed hard against the wall of the wizard tower. The wall that had been blessed with hardening magic was smashed into spider web-like cracks, and the long sealed construct puppet was twisted and deformed. The 2 eyes kept flashing golden light, and the body twisted to stand up. But then it was completely written off by Allen with a stick. Don't you know that the dragon vein wizard likes to violently demolish the house? Seeing William's strange eyes, Allen said casually, "Our time is limited. There must be a lot of constructs in here. I need you to help me hold them." "Understood. Leave it to me." William nodded. This ancient relic has been sealed for thousands of years. Although the constructs inside can still operate, they have not been maintained for a long time. Except for the diamond golem, the others are not very resistant to attack. The 2 figures rushed forward, and 5 huge fireballs quickly appeared in Allen's hands. The fireballs spun rapidly, and then a huge fireball was fused into the city and smashed hard at the gate of the wizard tower. Boom. A loud noise came, and the whole wizard tower seemed to shake. The whole gate was blown away directly. The 5 fire gods are really sharp in destroying houses. Allen rushed in without slowing down, and William followed closely behind. Intruders found. Activate the maze protection. The target threat level is A+. Authorize the use of magic particle orbital cannons. Activate the defensive golem army. Block the surrounding space. The magic particle orbital cannon begins to charge. 20%, 21%, 22%. A series of cold voices sounded, and Allen knew that it was the tower spirit that started the attack. The 2 rushed into the wizard tower, and a team of steel golems rushed over. Disintegration ! Quote asterisk 6. Before he got close, Allen cast his disintegration spell. After a violent tremor, the 6 steel golems began to collapse and quickly turned into grey wizard powder. Allen rushed forward quickly. Suddenly, a ray of energy full of death came, and then several ghosts in robes appeared in front of him. Finger of death. The light directly hit the energy barrier in front of Allen, and the energy barrier flashed and dissipated directly. Undead creatures immobilization spell. A beam of spiritual light flew out, and the bodies of several ghosts froze, and then returned to normal. Although it was only for more than a second, it was enough. Soul shock. Extreme spell effect. An invisible light wave spread quickly, and the bodies of the 3 ghosts trembled violently, and their originally translucent bodies directly turned into mist. Ding ding dang dang. 2 soul crystals fell to the ground, and Allen waved his staff to collect them directly. After rushing up to the 2nd floor, they were confronted with 2 diamond golems. Seeing these golems, Allen shouted directly, "William is in your hands. Hold them back." "Understood." Roar. With a roar, a huge brown bear appeared on the spot, which was taller than the 4-meter high diamond golem. The moment the giant bear appeared, it rushed directly to the 2 diamond golems. Then there was a violent vibration, and the 3 behemoths collided with each other. Allen saw that the diamond golem was entangled and rushed directly to the upper level of the wizard tower. Alarm. Alarm. Scanning the energy fluctuation of the maze lock. Scanning the energy fluctuation of the maze lock. A powerful energy fluctuation spread out. Allen felt that there was a barrier between his body and the surrounding elemental energy in an instant, and the difficulty of casting spells increased exponentially. Damn it. This is the forbidden magic field. Allen's face was ugly. The elemental energy from the outside world cannot be used, and in the future, all spells will require the magic power in the body. Then 2 high-level constructs suspended in mid-air descended from the sky. They were engraved with hundreds of inscriptions all over their bodies. They had no legs, and looked like the upper body of a human. They were only 2 meters tall, with a light golden appearance and various energy crystals inlaid on their bodies. There was a purple gem inlaid on their heads. Compared with the ferocious looking iron golem, they looked like works of art. Arcane Guard activated. Start the enemy annihilation mode. Eliminate all invaders. In the dazzling red light, a cold mechanical sound rang out. Inscriptions appeared one after another. Sure enough, I knew there would be such a thing. The Arcane Guard may not be as destructive as the Diamond Golem, but it is more difficult to deal with. Although the Diamond Golem also has spell-like abilities, it is mainly physical attacks. The Arcane Guard can cast many spells, and its resistance to spells is higher than that of the Diamond Golem. Of course, they also have weaknesses, that is, their physical defense is only slightly stronger than that of the Iron Golem. Dispel the high-level spell. Counterspell. Allen was so fast that he cast 2 spells while swinging his staff. The Arcane Guard, which was already flashing with aura, suddenly dissipated. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Allen's huge dragon wings flapped violently, and his already fast speed increased again. A shadow flashed by, and Allen appeared in front of the 2 Arcane Guards. With a hint of mockery on his lips, Allen stretched out his arms and grabbed the 2 Arcane Guards directly. His arms exerted force, and his muscles bulged. The power that surpassed that of an adult dragon burst out at this moment. The 2 Arcane Guards were directly smashed to the ground by Allen. Bang! A deep pit was smashed on the solid corridor floor. Allen jumped directly from the air and stepped hard on the 2 Arcane Guards. A sound of metal tearing was heard. The 2 Arcane Guards had been severely deformed. The light in their eyes flickered and then dimmed, and their twisted bodies were no longer moving. Chapter 374 Ancient City 9. After dealing with the Arcane Guard, Allen appeared on the upper floor of the Wizard Tower. As soon as he appeared, Allen felt the strong breath of death around him. As the breath of death spread, some scattered bones floated up and quickly formed a skeleton. Lich. Allen's face was a little solemn when he saw this figure. He was very familiar with liches, because all liches with life boxes were very difficult to deal with. Facing a lich in this environment is not a good choice. No, it's not a lich. Allen felt that the lich in front of him had no intelligence, and he was relieved. Soulbinder. The advancement of the earthbound spirit is a legendary undead creature. The power of the lich lies in its wisdom and ability to be resurrected continuously. Although the Soulbinder is also very strong, it has only 1 life. More importantly, its wisdom is far inferior to that of the lich. It can even be said that it is not wisdom, but the last obsession before death. Teacher, are you back? Why did you abandon us? Why did you seal this place off, leaving us to die in despair? The Soulbinder whispered, why do you treat us like this? I want revenge. Wake up and welcome our anger. Translucent figures appeared here one after another. Seeing the figures appear, Allen's face was solemn. He never thought that there would be so many earthbound spirits here. As the earthbound spirits appeared, the Soulbinder waved his staff, and a large number of Soulbinders rushed up directly. Dragon breath spewing. Allen took a deep breath, and the next moment a scorching magic flame instantly spurted out. The scorching dragon breath enveloped the entire corridor. All the earthbound spirits and Soulbinders were surrounded by a sea of fire. The flames lasted for about half a minute. Many of the earthbound spirits just now had dissipated, leaving only a soul crystal on the spot, and some figures were even more illusory, as if they could be blown away by a gust of wind. A negative energy shield was shrouded around the Soulbinder's body. Although his breath was a little unstable, he was not seriously injured. Touch of shadow. Finger of death. Shadow sphere. Fear. The surrounding earthbound spirits and the Soulbinder cast a large number of spells. Allen waved his hand to cast a protection from evil, and then rushed over with the spell. Except for the Soulbinder spell, that made Allen a little afraid, he flapped his wings and dodged it. The spells cast by other earthbound spirits were directly ignored by Allen. Mass undead immobilization spell. A spiritual light quickly spread from Allen's body, and all the earthbound spirits swept by the spiritual light were directly stiff and unable to move. Soul shock. He threw it at the controlled undead casually. With a sigh, these earthbound spirits slowly dissipated, and only the soul crystals left on the ground showed that they had existed. Explosive fireball. Dominate humanity. Allen felt his head sink, and then recovered. The will judgment passed. The Soulbinder spell failed and received some backlash, but this backlash did not cause him any harm. At the same time, at the top of the wizard tower, the energy beams gathered, became more and more dazzling. Warning. Warning. High-level energy gathering is detected. The target is the magic crystal railgun, and the target has been locked on the host. Host, please dodge as soon as possible. Please dodge as soon as possible. At the top of the wizard tower, a cold mechanical voice sounded. The magic crystal railgun is fully charged. Target locked. Start attack. Allen's hair stood up in the wizard tower. The next moment, a space gate opened directly, and then a purple energy beam passed through the space gate and shot directly at Allen. The speed was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. Allen did not expect that he would be attacked by the magic crystal railgun in the wizard tower. There was no time to think, and the guardian ring on his hand was instantly activated. Exile. Allen was instantly exiled to the different plane, and a purple energy brushed Allen's body. The hard wizard tower was instantly pierced, and the obsidian at the gap melted directly. Target, dodge, keep recharging energy. Allen almost broke out in a cold sweat at this moment. If he hadn't reacted in time, this cannon would have killed, or crippled even a body as big as a dragon. Fortunately, this kind of killer weapon cannot cross planes. It is said that during the Arcane Empire, those great arcanists were already studying ways to attack across planes. If this is true, Allen's self-exile just now would not have been able to avoid it. It would have directly broken through the space barrier and hit Allen. Can't delay any longer. This thing is too scary. Facing this kind of attack for the first time, Allen didn't want to try it again. This thing relies on the calculation of the tower spirit to attack. With this mistake, there is a 70% chance that Allen will be hit next time without any time to react. After removing the exile spell, Allen returned to the wizard tower again. At the moment Allen appeared, the soulbinder attacked directly, but Allen had already noticed its attack. At the moment it attacked, the staff in Allen's hand burst into golden light. Divine power strike. Artifact effect. A golden divine power burst out instantly, and the soulbinder had no chance to react, and was directly hit by the golden light. No, I haven't taken revenge yet. I won't give up. The soulbinder let out a desperate roar from his broken body, then slowly burned in the divine power, and finally turned into ashes. Ding dong. A light sound was heard. A purple soul crystal fell to the ground. This was the last relic left by the soulbinder. After dealing with the soulbinder, there was no time to rest. The magic crystal railgun on the top of the wizard tower was like a sword of Damocles hanging over his head, making him feel uneasy. He didn't dare to guarantee that he would be 100% sure to dodge it next time. He ran along the stairs to the upper floor of the wizard tower. It was impossible to judge how many floors the wizard tower had from the outside world, because all wizard towers would be blessed with space development skills, and the space inside was much larger than what you saw from the outside world. Warning. Warning. A large number of magic traps have been discovered. A translucent screen rose up in front of Allen's eyes, and the next moment, a large number of densely packed red dots appeared on the ground. These red dots were all spell traps. Allen checked and found that, although these spell traps still existed, they were on the verge of collapse. They had not been maintained for thousands of years, and it was a miracle that they could still maintain their effectiveness. However, the power of these traps has become negligible. However, Allen did not touch them. Following the prompts of the chip, Allen went around the traps directly. With his wings flapping, Allen quickly crossed the corridor and moved towards the control center, where the tower spirit was. Thanks to the book friend Silent Zahn for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 375 Ancient City, 10. Inside the tower, Allen fired a huge fireball to blast open the door of the central control room. Then he rushed in with the energy shield on his head. Chip. Scan the tower spirit signal. Scan the energy transmission channel. As soon as he entered, Allen asked the chip to scan, and then he saw a control console in the center of the hall. On it was a golden construct, and a large number of magic crystals were inlaid on the construct. It was the tower spirit of the entire wizard tower. Intruders enter the central control room. Activate the magic power armor. Destroy the intruders. A cold mechanical sound rang out, followed by a loud bang, and then a high-level magic construct fell from the sky. The appearance of this construct was shining with silver light, which Allen was very familiar with. It was the luster of mithril. There were countless inscriptions engraved on its body. The inscriptions covered the surface of its body, outlining strange patterns. It was more than 5 meters tall, with smooth body curves, and looked very sci-fi. In his hand, he held a strangely shaped sharp blade, which was as bright as new, showing a light golden color, and a large amount of refined gold was mixed in it. The materials of this golem puppet made Allen speechless. A large amount of mithril and fine gold was used, and the cost was painful. The ancient wizard spent such a high price to create a puppet golem with imaginable power. Guardian activated. Start annihilation mode. Kill all invaders. There were many golden patterns on the bright silver head, and 2 red lights shot out from the eyes. Allen dodged immediately. The red light passed, and 2 deep pits appeared on the ground. Inscriptions appeared one after another, and then the figure flashed and appeared directly beside Allen, with the sharp blade in his hand. Dang. Allen blocked the sharp blade with a horizontal staff. The next moment, he exerted force with his arm, and the staff swept across, and pushed the guardian golem far away. Advanced slowness. Meteor explosion. Legendary spell. The guardian ring hit the guardian golem with a flash of light, and then a dazzling meteor hit the guardian's chest fiercely. But what surprised Allen happened. The meteor explosion exploded directly, smashing a pit in its chest, without any imagined damage. This puppet golem has an outrageously high spell resistance. After enduring a meteor blast, the guardian rushed forward again, and the pit on his chest began to slowly recover, and would disappear in a few minutes. Dragon breath spray. Seeing the guardian rushing up, Allen took a deep breath without thinking, and then sprayed the scorching dragon breath over. The guardian was instantly engulfed in flames. But Allen didn't have time to check the results. A tall figure rushed out directly from the sea of fire. It was the guardian. The high temperature dragon breath did not cause any damage to him, except that the metal on the surface was a little red. After being attacked by Allen's spells twice, the guardian golem did not continue to attack. The runes on the surface of its body lit up, and then an energy shield appeared on the surface of its body, and then it continued to rush towards Allen. Ice storm. Exploding fireball. Advanced disintegration. Windblade array. Extreme spell. A series of spells were released from Allen's hands. Countless spiritual lights flashed, and the ice storm and the explosive fireballs dissipated directly. The advanced disintegration spell only broke the protective shield on his body. In the moment of breaking, the protective shield was repaired again. The windblade array released by Allen only hit a few, and the rest were all blocked by the protective shield. The guardian rushed in front of Allen, and a flash of spiritual light appeared on the cold blade. The next moment, it slashed towards Allen's head fiercely. Without a head-on attack, Allen turned his body to the side and dodged directly. The bright silver blade light instantly cut a neat hole in the hard ground. Allen held the staff and swung his arm vigorously, hitting the guardian's head directly. The guardian shook slightly and then swept it. Allen had a headache dodging the guardian's attack. This thing is really a turtle shell, and its resistance to various spells is terrifyingly high. The damage caused by the spells released by Allen is extremely limited, and the damage on the body will continue to repair. The physical defense is no worse than that of the diamond golem, and Allen has no way to demolish it in a short time. If it were somewhere else, it would take a lot of time to consume it. Allen doesn't believe that its energy will not be exhausted. When the energy is exhausted, this thing will be a pile of scrap metal. It's just that it is in the wizard tower, and the guardian can replenish energy anytime and anywhere. In the end, Allen may be exhausted to death by it, and there is a magic crystal railgun charging next to it. Maybe Allen will be fired at the next moment. Chip, have you scanned the energy channel? Scanning. It is estimated to take 13 seconds. 13 seconds. Almost. Wait a few more minutes. I will cut off all your energy channels. Allen was ruthless and continued to entangle with the guardian. Scan completed. Just when Allen was feeling like a year, the sound of the chip sounded. At this moment, the cold mechanical sound sounded as pleasant as the sound of nature. Mark the energy nodes. Allen ordered directly. A translucent screen appeared in front of Allen, and the energy channels of the Wizard Tower Control Center appeared clearly in front of him. Then more than a dozen energy nodes were all marked. Hey, let you be arrogant for a while. When I cut off the energy, I'll see how I deal with you. Allen moved his feet and got rid of the Guardian's entanglement. The next moment, he appeared on an energy node. The staff in his hand flashed with a flash of light and instantly sank into the energy node. The normal energy node became stagnant, and the flowing energy inside was blocked. The energy gathering of the magic crystal railgun on the wizard tower began to slow down. Due to lack of maintenance, the magic crystal railgun was slow to gather energy, and now it was even slower. Seeing that the effect was good, Allen began to move quickly to the position of the energy node. With his movements, more and more energy nodes began to stagnate. The energy consumption of the wizard tower control center began to be insufficient and soon fell into a stagnant state. Insufficient energy. The magic crystal railgun cannot gather energy. Open the backup pipeline. Open the backup energy. As the energy stagnated, the tower spirit flashed for a while, and then prepared to turn on the backup energy. The guardian who lost the energy could no longer move. Allen had freed his hands, so how could he let the tower spirit continue to start the backup energy? Time stop. The staff in his hand shone with a dazzling light, and then instantly enveloped the control center of the wizard tower. Everything in the control center fell into a state of stillness, and only Allen could move. As a legendary spell, the difficulty of casting Time Stop is very high. Allen can only cast it easily with the help of the power of the artifact. If he casts it by himself, the speed will be at least several times slower. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.